if he
Yes.
needs a place, or I don't know if he's doing anything because it's usually uncontested. But
Okay.
I never thought of that until I walked out. And I go, I didn't get that stipend in my check this month.
Nice weather out there.
It is, if you're a duck.
We needed it, truthfully.
It has been dry.
Yeah.
Scott probably doesn't think so, but
We got wet today.
Now being 6 o'clock, I'd like to call a meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Dansville to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I didn't get any message from Rob, and anybody else heard from him?
I haven't heard from him about a week or so.
Okay. First up, privilege of the floor. Mr. Toma.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Came today because hopefully you know that you received a home grant for housing rehabilitation. Actually, I think we wrote it last fall, and it's taken a while to get it going. I think it was September 15th was the date of your grant agreement. The state finally got back to you. So this is kind of like the kickoff. I just wanted to make sure everybody on the board and anybody else in the village knows what's going to happen. It's a little bit different than other grants that you've received, so I put a little handout together. Yep.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Go. Got a couple others if you want to give one to the trustee that's missing. As it says on the sheet, the grant was for $422,400. We're also projecting there'll be about $13,000 of non-grant funds. So the total project's about $435,000. Kind of broke down that amount into what's going into rehabilitation, what's going into program delivery and administration, and what's going into fees. And that's one of the things different about this grant as compared to the CDBG grants that we've received, that you've received for basically the same thing. Is home has some requirements that there's got to be environmental reports, real estate analysis, things like that. So those are costs, additional costs to this program. They're funded with the grant funds, so there's not an additional cost to the village, but they are additional costs to the program. And that's why the per unit cost is much higher than it would be for the CDBG program. We're projecting 11 properties to be done. The program is for single family, owner-occupied housing. Everybody has to be income eligible. There's the current income levels. Again, it's based upon household size. In order for participating properties to go into the program, first thing they have to be not only income eligible, but the house has to be substandard. And then once the work is done, it has to meet what they're calling Housing Trust Fund Corporation standards. Like the CDBG, all the work will be done by local contractors, or hopefully local contractors. And our contract with the village, one of the things we'll be doing is providing technical assistance to the property owners and oversee the work. Now, the couple differences from the CDBG, and one is somewhat critical. The first one, as I mentioned, it's on page 2. There is a requirement for environmental and real estate reports as well as an energy audit. So that is different. But the other thing that is much different is how the money flows. In the CDBG program, basically, once the grant agreement is signed, you have the ability to request funds as needed. So as a contractor is doing work on Mrs. Smith's house or whatever, and they submit a bill, we send that bill to a board meeting, gets approved, and it's sent out. And whether it's somebody doing an environmental report or whether somebody, we're billing for our time or anything like that. And then once it's requested, the money usually comes in about 7 days. And so that's pretty workable, especially with contractors. If they can bill properly and on a timely basis, they're getting paid less than 30 days usually. The home program, because of some different federal regulations on the funds, is a little bit different. First of all, you can't bill for anything until you know what the cost of the whole project is. So when we go in and do the lead-based paint work or the environmental report or any of that, we can't request any money, or the village can't request money from that until all the contracts are in place and we know exactly what the project's going to cost. The other issue, and this is a little more critical with the contractors, once they submit a bill to you and you approve that bill and request the funds, it could be up to 60 days to get the money. So one of the things that the home program allows you to do, if you choose, and you don't have to, but you could upfront the costs. Okay? And so in other words, contractor would submit a bill, we'd recommend payment of that, approved by the board. It would be then paid with village funds. Then it would be submitted to the state. Funds would be reimbursed. May take 60 days to get them, but they would reimburse the village for the cost. So that's something you're going to have to decide whether you want to do. If you choose not to do it that way and do it the way, submitting bills when you can, then we're probably going to hear it a little bit from the contractors. We don't run a lot of home programs just because this is one of the reasons we don't. It's a good source of funding, but I know in other communities that we work in that we run home programs, that's a concern. So
I just have a question
Yep.
on that. When, at what point, if you guys have recommended payment, is there a part where the state could then decline payment? What would that look like? So if we did decide to say we were going to, go up front once everything's
Sure.
all in order,
Sure.
and we're going to use it so it just repays us back, so
Sure.
that we're helping the homeowners, because sometimes some of the contracting companies around here may not be able to hold bills for 60 days, so
Right.
they may not want to get involved. So we
Right.
wanted to go that route. What would it take for them to decline reimbursement?
The programs we've been involved in, they've never been declined. Again, it has to, what happens is you set the project up first. So before any money is actually expended, we got Mr. Smith on Maple Street or whatever. She needs $25,000 worth of work. And so we've got contracts or proposals from contractors in place and totals up all the works. And then we set that project up. The state has a checklist that requires us to set that up. And so they know ahead of time that there's going to be a $10,000 for the roof, $5,000 for heating, whatever. So when you then go to and you authorize that work, so that setup is approved by the state, so the state's aware of that. When you then authorize the work. In other words, we then issue notices to proceed to the contractors. As long as the bills coming in are, match up with the how it was set up, there shouldn't be any reason why the state would not disperse the money.
So basically, if you guys say it's good to go, then
It
it's,
should be, because we'll have a check on us too, because we'll put that setup form in. If they had some issues with what's going to be done, they hopefully would catch it at that point. If the type of work, for example, we're going to put in a swimming pool or something, well, they're going to catch it at that stage. So obviously they're not going to approve that. But once we get it set up, as long as it follows that setup, there shouldn't be any reason for it not to be approved and dispersed. Now there's always issues like when you're done, they come and monitor. So they'll look at making sure that the people's income is correct and they were correctly documented, things like that. But that's almost an after the fact type thing. That doesn't happen up front. So as far as the state, as long as the invoice that you've paid, that we're submitting, has all the proper information on it, and we know what that is, there shouldn't be a reason why they would turn down a request for funds. It should just be a matter of time.
all right. And one other thing, the requirement for environmental and real estate reports, what does that entail?
Well, the environmental, we have to hire an engineer, and basically we had, again, identified Mrs. Smith's property. There's a checklist that they have to follow, making sure that there's not any environmental concerns that would, it's in a Superfund site, it's in a floodway, something like that would make make the house not eligible to participate in the home program. So that's what that is for. And again, that goes in with the setup. So if there was something that we missed, that the state says, no, you can't do it because of this or that, they would catch it at that point. The real estate analysis, the state has a limit on what the after rehab value of the property can be. So all we need to do is it doesn't have to be in a full appraisal, just a real estate professional look at the property and say, okay, this property, right now the value is $50,000. They're going to put $25,000 into it. Once all the work is done, I think the property is going to be worth $80,000. And the actual limit for Livingston County, I don't have it with me, is probably about $100,000. So again, it's just to make sure that the money is going into properties that really need it.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So, as far as the amount of money at any one time, each project is, my guess is the projects are going to range from probably the low 20s, 22 to 25,000. Some of them may range up to 30,000. But again, typically there might be 3 or 4 contractors involved in each project, so you might not be. It's not like you're approving that 30,000 all at once, But you're going to have more than one project too, so it's hard to determine exactly what the cash flow would be on that. In other words, would we at some point come to you and say, well, here's $50,000 worth of bills? That's a possibility, though that's probably on the high end. It's probably more. Most of them are I would think, most of the monthly requests would be below that. And again, that'll change obviously through the winter. It's not going to be as much as some of the summer months.
One last thing.
Yep.
You had mentioned something about you used the word floodway.
Yep.
Because some of our village does
You
hit
can
the
be in a
flood zone.
floodplain.
Okay.
You can be in a floodplain. you can't be in a floodway. That would be a prohibition.
Okay.
Yeah, just so you know, a floodway is 100 feet from the banks of the creek. That's the floodway. But the flood zone, that covers a lot farther. The house can be in the flood zone, just not within 100 feet of creek.
So any houses within 100 feet of that.
Are in a floodway, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
And again, the property could be in a floodway,
As long as the house
but
is...
the house is out of the floodway. That's,
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions of Mr. Toma?
so if you could, again, you don't have to decide that tonight, but if you could decide it at your board meeting next week, because one of the things that we have to do, even though the grant was just approved, there's a quarterly report that is due. And one of the things they ask in the first quarterly report is, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to upfront the money, or are you going to just submit as needed and just bear the cost, the time? Okay. Any other questions about the program? Or, there is a waiting list. We haven't contacted the people yet. We're kind of waiting to do that. My assumption is probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll be contacting the people on the waiting list, probably putting an ad in the paper. If anybody else wants to apply, with only 11 units, my assumption is that there will probably be a lot of people interested, and the money will be, again, we try to commit the money to the people with the greatest needs, lowest income, highest housing need. But I would hope that certainly by the winter, we've identified all 11 properties and get the work started.
So you're thinking the average monthly, even in a good month, would be like 30,000 would be what we bring in bills, 20 to 30?
Yeah, probably. And again, there may be a time that it might push up to 50. It's a 2-year program. We've got 2 years from September 15th to expend the money. We don't like to get too many projects going on at once, because that just makes it harder to manage it. Plus, we use, some of the contractors work on multiple projects, so you don't want, you like to get the contracts done within 60 days.
But for this one, the total delivery would be 326 anyway, so it's not
Right.
like...
Right. Okay.
No other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How's that retirement going?
Yeah, I thought you were going to retire.
I'll tell you next year. Now that I'm much closer to Dansville, it seems like I'm asked to just do a little quick meeting every day.
Say, how is it up on the lake?
Good.
Had an extended summer.
Yeah.
Actually, summer just came late.
Yeah. Well, today reminds us what fall is really supposed to be like.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll see everybody.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Watch out for the deer.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Greg, you got the floor.
All right.
Tough to beat.
I'm going to assume you're going to talk about the floodplain issue, the
Yes.
study,
Yeah.
and the board has not seen that, although it is in your share folders right now. It's the report that MRB did that we requested
Excellent.
for Bradner and
So,
Brewery Creeks, and that just came in today, so.
all right. So I was hoping you guys might have your own, but we can briefly talk about the hydraulic study. We did perform that study. We summarized the watershed for Bradner and Brewery Creek, and we do have some mapping that kind of shows the overall watershed boundaries. Real quick, what we found was we were trying to compare it to FEMA, to our little mini study. FEMA's study for Bradner had 922 acres total. Our study showed 929, so we're pretty comparable. And then for Brewery Creek, FEMA had 902 acres. We had 913. So again, very comparable size of the drainage areas. There were some differences when we started looking at what the cover type would be, and what we came up for total flows. So We used the USDA NARCS TR55 method, which is accepted by FEMA as a methodology to approximate and determine what your 100-year flow would be. Using that, we came up with some very interesting results for Bradner and Brewery Creek. Starting first with Bradner, our results looking at Bradner Creek, our 100-year flow came out to be about 361 CFS versus what the FEMA had, which was 911. So that's about a net reduction of about 60% delta. Then the really fishy part comes in when we start looking at Brewery Creek, because Brewery Creek being in that same 900 acre area, our delta and flow, the FEMA showed 444, but our study shows 719 CFS for brewery.
So it's just the opposite.
Yeah, it's basically, but they're both off like about 60% in either direction.
So what's that mean?
Yeah,
So
so
the brewery or Bradner takes a whole lot less water than what FEMA's saying.
right.
So it's in our, they could get worse.
What's that? No, it could get better if they would go with MRP's results.
Right, for
60% better.
for Bradner.
For Bradner. But brewery, I don't understand brewery. I mean, we were sitting up there, if you notice this, it's this wide.
Yeah,
It's deep.
There's not much of a creek there, but there's still, again, there's 900 acres. So what we went through is we looked at like what is used to determine the parameters that you use to determine what your flow rates are going to be. The first one is the type of soils. So A soils, you get less runoff. D soils, you get more runoff. So A good, D bad. Just like high school. All right, so when we looked at a lot of the soils that are in both of these drainage areas, they have dual designation soils. So essentially what they were saying is that if it's drained, if it's in a well-drained state, it's an A soil. But if it's not in a well-drained state, then it's a D soil. In our analysis, we basically said, okay, let's assume everything is well-drained at this point to look at our analysis. And that's where I think we had some delta probably from the FEMA study. Particularly, if you look at the hydrologic soil group AB in Bradner, the makeup is 80% of the favorable soils, and CD soils in Bradner was only 20%. And then it's almost flipped in the reverse when you look at Brewery Creek for AB soils and CD soils being almost 80% CD soils in Brewery Creek. And then the next thing that you go down is you look at cover type. So, woodlands would be a favorable cover type, more abstraction, uptake of the rainfall leads to less runoff. Residential, has a fair amount of runoff. We had to make some assumptions as to impervious cover on those residential properties. And then lastly, agricultural crops. So crop residue tends to have a very high runoff. Someone's farming for corn, and they cut all the corn stalks off, and essentially it's a big dirt field. You get a lot of runoff off of those fields. So in Bradner Creek, the way it broke out is you were about 50% of it was woods, residential area was about 40%, and the last percentage was crop residue. And then I think part of the reason why Brewery Creek came up with higher numbers was that only 37% was wooded, 35% was residential, but then another 29-30% was crop residue. So again, that's what's kind of jacking that up. So, to your point, what does this mean? I think this means I think we take this, we go to FEMA, and we ask them to say, look, our analysis is showing some widely variant flows compared to what you guys put together. Is there any way you guys can add this to your list to restudy in the next year or two to get it on their list? Because if they do the study, then it doesn't cost the village any money at that point.
Could it hurt the village?
for them to do this, if we're asking them to redo the study,
Could it make the floodplain bigger?
that I would say that's a possibility. I think, but at least then you would know. I think then people would actually take a harder look at it and do like a full heck grass on the drainage area, and I think you would at least know for sure whether truly in, truly out at that point. Does that make sense?
Everything you say makes sense.
I don't believe that.
Well, it's not an amendment.
Right, so there's actually a happy ending to that project. So really, again, like I said, this is basically, I think you can take our study and go back to them and say it's worth a restudy.
Will it trigger, or will it just go, yeah, okay?
Well, that's where I think we have to have a sit down with them and see if we can, get them, in a room and talk to them about restudying these areas because of the results. We can obviously help facilitate that. I don't think that's too much of an issue. The real thing that I would say is that they may toss it back to you guys and just say, we're too busy. If you guys want to change it, you study it. Then we're talking about, a much bigger effort than to study these creeks and put together the full analysis that they want.
I don't suppose we would get reimbursed for that.
I'm not sure if there's any programs right off the top of my head for that. I wasn't necessarily prepared to kind of go down that road. I just wanted to make sure you got the information so we knew. I think the next step is really to knock on FEMA's door and say, look, we're off by 60% in either direction based on MRB study. It's probably about time for you guys to study it because they haven't studied it in such a long time. There's been a fair amount of changes with development and development patterns, how much impervious area is out there, probably even how much agricultural lands are out there. It's probably changed. So it's probably worth a really good conversation with FEMA at this point to see if they would be willing to restudy it. I would think that would be the most cost-effective route for the village to go.
Is there anything we can do, or what would we need to do to improve our stance in this? I mean, if we're looking over the next couple of years, I know that Scott and the boys and the board is back to some of the projects on that creek, but what can be done? We know some of the choke points or where the problems are.
Right. Yeah. So we actually just looked at the one the cross culvert on Bradner, right?
The one up on Seward
Park Ave.
Park, yeah.
The one I just did.
So, I mean, clearly there's some work there that would obviously have to be sized based on what is the accepted flow as of right now. I mean, I don't think that FEMA would be able to study this in enough time for you to, get a lower flow rate to go through that culvert. So I think you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place at that place for that location.
Well, I said Park Ave, so.
Or am I talking about the other location?
You're talking about the culvert on Seward.
Yeah. The one that had plates on it.
The one that's failing, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But do you think that's the right direction to go to try to get FEMA? I mean, if we...
yes, I think that's, because I think it's, like I said, it's the most cost effective. If they'll do the restudy of the drainage area, then that could save you guys thousands and thousands of dollars at that point.
How much would it cost for you guys to do it? I mean, or don't you have any idea?
I can't remember the last
We
time.
like rough estimates, no amendments.
I don't, yeah. Give me a number. I'm going to hold you to it.
50 grand? Is it 40 grand? Is it?
Yeah, it could be. It could be 50 grand. I mean, those heck grass studies are huge. They're a lot of manpower to get through them. We've done them like in Penfield. We did one, but that was back in 2099 time frame when we did one of those big studies. I mean, it's just they don't come up very much. Most people push it off to FEMA.
Who did the one there, that one creek in Gates? The big
How long ago was that?
3-4 years ago, maybe?
If it was my office, then it was probably Kurt and Steve. Kurt did this work here.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the one thing I would
they
say,
got theirs changed to some degree. I don't know how much.
right?
But
I would say that the one thing we take a look at is the drainage areas that we have outlined here is probably, Scott, if you take the maps, drive around, you see if there's something, this doesn't drain there, guys, we gotta change it, So, I would say that would probably be, the next step is probably to verify the boundary that we have here in the field with a simple boots on the ground walk of it. We'd probably, capture some of this too with having our guys down for the flow poking and GIS stuff, which I think we're planning on starting on Friday.
Thursday or Friday,
Yeah. So, that's basically,
Take that creek and turn it and run it right across and put it right across your property, drop it off, and that would be not more than drainage. That would be a perfect thing to do with that creek.
yeah,
At the top and drain it.
Oh, I know. But
I guess I would say is I don't think I've ever seen us come up with such a, we were high, 60% high on one and 60% low on the other.
So what's that gonna do with the other one, brewery?
That could make it worse.
I was gonna say, if
Because
you're
there's
right,
no creek really there.
not much-
Right,
I mean, it's
there's
just
nothing.
basically a
It's a
foot
ditch.
ditch.
Yeah. There's not much there, but there is a lot. Again, that's why I go back to, we got to look at the boundary that we have drawn for these and verify and make sure that we're,
Correct.
something doesn't, culvert its way out of our drainage area
Right.
that we don't know. So that's
But there's no comparison, those two streams, they're like night and day.
right. Well, they both have similar acreages associated with them.
which I don't quite understand, because really about the only acreage that would be involved with the Brewery Creek would be the side of this hill over here.
Bradner, according to FEMA,
Brandner wraps around the hill.
yeah, Bradner has 922 by FEMA. MRB showed 929. Brewery Creek by FEMA has 902. By MRB has 913. So,
Close there.
yeah,
But their flow rates were off.
flow rates are a lot different. But I think that goes back to what we know now for our hydrologic soil groups. Maybe they used for Bradner Creek. Maybe they used all the D soils. They
Well,
said it's all undrained, so therefore it's all D soils. That would
If it
crank
comes
up.
off- If it comes off that hill, it's going right over shale, so there's no way that gets soaked into the ground.
No,
But even they're saying amongst the bank, once you get down past Maple Street, the rest of the village down there, I mean, you're not going to flood anything down through there.
right.
I mean, Moriah.
You're past Moria.
Yeah.
And then
No,
as they're saying that for the agricultural part,
Right.
if that's what they're saying the other 35% is, well, that shouldn't count against. Because that's going to dissipate quicker.
Yeah, so like I said, the cover types helps dictate what you would pick for your what's called a curve number, and that's so the higher the curve number, the more water comes off of that drainage area.
Yeah.
So, we used, the most recent aerial photos we could to come up with some approximations for cover type.
So how soon do you think you could get us in with a sit down with FEMA?
I'll tell Kurt to put it on his agenda, and we'll see what happens. I'll let you know.
Okay.
So I
I
wouldn't
think you got to try.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If they'll do a study, at least then
Then you'd know for sure one way or the other. I mean, because then it would be
let's hurry up
pretty
and get some
detailed
of
at
that
that point.
stuff. Let's get some of that stuff widened back quick before they come.
So that's Brewery Bradner. The wastewater plant looks like we'll be able to close out here shortly.
All right.
We've got the UV up and working. Had some minor hiccups, but we've problem solved our way through those. So it looks like we should be good to go. They've already put in all their paperwork to close out. I'm just kind of sitting on it right now to give, to have things kind of operate for at least a little time before I let them loose. So,
Okay.
but that's good to go. The transmission main work, should hopefully be sending that into the DOH by the end of the week. So hopefully we'll be able to get that kind of on the docket soon. The one thing I will let you know is PVC pipe prices just went through the roof. There's 3 refineries apparently in North America that make the resin for PVC, and PVC pipe prices are up by about 30%, 40%. Yeah.
Is that because of the refinery issues, or?
Refineries are out, so all the big guys went ahead and bought up all the pipe and all the pipe guards. So
Yeah.
now they're basically saying you can get 8 and 12-inch pipe, that's it, and if you want anything different, good luck. We'll guarantee our price for 24 hours. So it's a tough environment right now.
Where do we stand as far as LMC goes and that whole issue?
Yeah, so we sent a follow-up email earlier this week to kind of find out what's the status of their batch testing results. Supposedly they're going to send it to us. We requested a site verification to make sure that they've added all the items that were required by the permit, and then also to sit down and talk with them about the cost of the permit and all the things that need to happen moving forward. So we'll try to set that up maybe in a couple weeks.
Do we ever have a price, I know with engineering and all that, was supposedly going to be rolled over to them.
That's what we're gonna have at our meeting.
Do they have any idea what that number is?
They know it's a good sized number.
Do we know what that number is?
Not right up. No, I don't.
No, I'd have to
And I
go
get
back and total it.
been trying to keep track of what we had to get with these guys.
Took
Because
a
we had a
while
lot
to
of
get
testing. Randy has a whole bunch of
there. Right.
tests.
So that's going to be a big number.
Yep. Yeah, because look at the budget it's going in the negative every month. Brother.
Well, at the end of the day, we just don't want to be sitting holding that bag,
Right.
And we won't, we'll take her from there.
Yeah, but then we're still holding the bag.
Anyone else have any questions of Greg while he's here?
Yeah. Any other questions on MRV stuff?
Do we need to give you some more work?
No.
No, I'm pretty busy right now. I can wait till the next board meeting.
We're gonna have to think about that culvert to have MRV.
Culvert, and then
if you guys want
possibly putting together maybe a shared service grant on that Vector truck, possibly. I think if you're thinking about doing anything like that. Talked with Wayland, they said they'd be interested as well.
Okay.
Do what?
Vac truck.
Yeah, the vac truck.
That is.
I think
Would that be a street cleaner as well?
A vac truck would be a vac truck. No.
Yeah. Because they do the same thing. They bring in an outside contractor to
Yeah.
do all their back work. So
Well,
We're sure we split the truck and
It just wouldn't sweep the streets, but it would catch basins. And all.
Well, I understand that, but you can't get them where they're combined.
What's that?
You can get them where they're combined.
yeah, vac and sweep.
isn't that what we rented this year?
That's not. This is more of a jetter truck and
So you
basically
wanna be
set
able
up
to
for
get-
sewers, not for.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you want to be able to get your pump stations.
That you can hydro excavate with that truck.
Right.
Or the one we had, the combo, you really. I
Would
mean, you
do that.
can, but it's not.
Not-
There's a big difference between the two trucks.
Okay. All
If there's
right.
anything that you guys want to think about packaging up, putting in for a WIA grant application, we had a whole bunch of them that hit just recently. So it's
What kind of grants that?
the Water Infrastructure Act. It was like the NY water grants, but now it's been supplemented.
How about our
Federal money,
transportation?
yeah.
Do they qualify or
It's probably kind of small potatoes for,
what they want?
yeah. Whalen's getting $3 million for their.
Well, let's figure out what we can get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be once we get through the I&I full poking, maybe there's some I&I work that we have to tackle. That would be a good application.
Definitely wants some free money.
Right.
Yeah, when you hear about things like that, you call.
Well, I am. That's
Don't wait for a meeting.
Don't wait for me. I'm just saying because
We're game.
That whole side of town's got 4-inch water main on it, so.
That's
That's $2 or $3 million right there.
yeah. So I'm like, if you
All right,
got, you got a
yeah,
water
check.
main replacement. I mean, that's basically what Whalen's doing. So they're replacing all their old 1903 cast 4-inch pipe.
How do we get on that?
Just got to go and package up a project and submit it. So it's a little more. I think it's a little more complicated than that, but
Sound like nothing you can have done by the end of the week.
You got all the information already?
It's usually creek work stuff too.
right. Yeah. See if we can do anything. But we just got Newark $3 million, Waterloo $3 million. So there's definitely some cash that's out there.
Somewhere we're missing the boat here.
Well, you guys got a big chunk of cash for the wastewater plant, but
that's
you gotta
already spent.
have a project the fund.
It's gotta be ready to go,
Yeah,
basically.
you kind of have to get through and make sure you have something.
We've got a couple of minis that can start digging tomorrow.
But a water main replacement job's not a bad one if you got a lot of old pipes.
We got a ton of old pipes, the whole village is old,
Right.
pretty much.
Can we get it for that transmission line?
Yeah, so that's what Scott was asking. I think that's small potatoes for what they're trying to fund.
For them, but that's big potatoes
What if we
for us.
combine it with another,
Man, if you put it in with like an overall project where you had,
Mhm.
a couple million worth of work,
yeah,
I think it works out for the water side. It's like 60% of your total project, up to $3 million. So,
sounds good to me.
okay.
Let's see what we can get.
I mean, I think your I&I work would probably also fall in that. So I don't know if we clean water, drinking water at the same time, but just something to think about. That's all.
Okay.
Because these next few rounds of the WIA they're supposed to come out. We just want to make sure we're prepared for them.
Yep.
We should start
Have
on
the
that
studies
side,
done,
look
that's
at
half
it,
the
start
fight
that
right
side
there.
down, And then roll it right in,
Yeah,
you know.
very well could be. So,
Make it work.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Nothing else? Good?
Yep. Go home, drive carefully.
All right, we'll do.
What's up for the deer?
Like I said, so probably in a week or two, we'll have the paperwork, hopefully, to close out that wastewater project.
Good,
So, be all done.
finally.
Get Kurt to come down and look at that culvert and then give us a proposal.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't get them down probably next week then.
All right.
Okay? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
You.
See ya.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you.
Okay.
You shoot that whole thing up there. Coming down Prime Street.
Well, expensive.
Okay, moving right along here, mayor's correspondence and comments. In the share folder, you'll see a letter from the DOT concerning the speed signs up on 256, or a sign up there to announce the 30-mile-an-hour. They'll be looking at that, so it really says. So at least they finally acknowledged they got my request. Anybody's interested, October 20th is the retirement party over in Cortland for Bernie Toma. 5 to 9, you want to zip on over to Cortland, just over the hill.
Yeah, I was just in Cortland, and it is not just over the hill.
Well, there are a couple hills after that, too.
A couple
Doesn't
lakes.
seem to be any easy way to get over there. Let's go helicopter.
Anyway, also, Restore New York, I sent off a copy of well, not a copy, I sent off the original intent to apply for New York's Restore New York monies for the King's Daughters. It's actually it's a county initiative, but they'll be running it through us to get that thing back in shape so that they can sell it. In other words, repair all the water damage and stuff like that that's in there. Let's see. And there's also the seeker for the tower up here on the hill. That's in the process on the town side. Just so you're aware of it. We've been notified. And until they get all that stuff done, they get it up, I guess we're just going to have to play with what communications we have. Yeah. So, and tomorrow, if anybody hasn't already seen one of these, I'll pass them out. Board members. And I sent out an email to everybody today earlier. But tomorrow at 10:30 in the auditorium, there will be a downtown partnership presentation by Louise Wadsworth, and I think she's got somebody that's actually doing the study for her on those different elements that are talked about there. I'm meeting with them at 9:45 to do a little quick walk around downtown. Opportunities to improve our downtown business district. And tomorrow's, I wouldn't say it's so much a presentation, but it's more of a public hearing to get people's input as to what they would like to see downtown and which direction they would like to see it go. So just as a reminder, and the only other thing is, Megan, I think you were addressed on this as well, but I also forwarded you a copy of the one I got that's on document management for grants and stuff, and there's a webinar coming up, so we could take a look at that tomorrow. Okay. And with that, we'll jump right down to committee reports. Legislative, Megan's been out all day. She was out yesterday. She's had an easy week this week. She was sick yesterday. Strep?
Yep.
Going around. I didn't have that, but I wasn't exactly. Now I know.
And today she had to go to Buffalo. Always a thrilling experience, I'm sure.
Today was training for retirement online, which they'll be going live in May of 2018, with which actually goes around, along with the records management. We'll be reporting a lot more monthly now. So a lot of our payroll records, which we have to dig through when people retire, the hard copies in the basement, which is one of the reasons that we talk about digitizing and getting those documents uploaded, and to help preserve them as well, that will all be online already. So down the road, this will be a really good thing. It'll just be just a little more to prepare for, but it's all positive.
That's good.
And it was a good training.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. You have copies of the action list are in the share folder as well. I don't know if we've really probably made much progress with that. And let's see. They're working away over on the brewery. I'm not sure exactly when the state's going to approve everything for them, but it should be coming up soon. They were talking about mid-October, which is where we're just about at. But something tells me it may be a little, not till November. That really doesn't impact us as much. Have they talked to you, Scott, regarding our share of the work down there?
Yeah, they want it done ASAP. So, as soon as we get the streets paved, we'll go over and put the utilities in.
Okay. Okie doke. And I sent out, I believe, an email concerning the employment manual. Does everybody have a copy of that? Okay. Take a look at it, come up with whatever thoughts you have on it, and maybe sometime we'll set up a workshop and just go through it and bang that thing out and get it up to date. And we've also got to do some discrimination policy training. We passed the policy itself, was it last month, Megan? September? We did that. Now we need to go through the training similar to probably what we did back in the spring. This is a little more comprehensive. The other one was sexual harassment. This is discrimination and sexual harassment. But we'll get back to you when we have some time on that. And just as a reminder, the CSEA and the DPOA contracts are coming due for renegotiation here in the first part of the year. I'm sure I'll be getting a notice from the unions come December to set up the dates. So usually I go in, well, I automatically am a part of the negotiating team, but if there's anybody else that wants to sit in on it, I will need to know ahead of time. So I know you have experience down that field if you're interested. It doesn't have to be any one particular individual, and it could be separate individuals for each of the contracts. So, and with that, turn over to public safety. The trustee Nagel.
Well, that worked very good. Let's start with Tammy.
I emailed my reports today, so I didn't give you a report today. While you're on me though, can I give you guys heads up on the light pole Christmas decorations and give you all the same shell shock that I got?
From the window sticker price or from something else?
From the price. Apparently, I went with the most generic, a snowflake. There's multiple different ones. I got 3 different ones. I priced them from several different companies. I still have other quotes coming in from several more companies. And right now, they're made in 4 foot by 4 foot, 6 foot by 6 foot, and 8 foot by 8 foot. And that probably sounds big, but they told me all these companies are going, when it's up on the pole, it's not big. but I went with 4-foot prices, and they range from $230 a snowflake to $500 a snowflake. And when you look at the snowflakes from the different companies, it's the same snowflake. It ranges from $230 a snowflake to $500 a snowflake. We have how many poles, Scott? 58?
53, I think.
No, 53. That's very expensive. What do you guys want to continue to do? I will tell you that most of the companies said that most communities go either every other pole 1 year or every third pole, and do that 1 year, and then the next year, if they're doing a snowflake, they'll get a different snowflake, so that overall, at the end of 3 years, when every pole has a flake on it, you have 2 or 3 different flakes as you look down the street, you know, and it really looks good, and that way you're not putting all the money out in 1 year. I now have multiple companies that call me every single day and want to know, are you ready to order? Are you ready to order?
Didn't the one salesman say that it would be best to wait until after
I've
the
had
holidays?
more than one say that now. I have one lovely lady that I get to talk to every single day now who says, you got to buy them right now, right now, right now, right now. But I've had 4 or 5 different salesmen from different companies say, honestly, you might want to skip this Christmas and buy in January, because that's when you're going to get the best prices. They couldn't tell me what the prices would be in January. They just said that, you know, right now you're getting prices from $230 to $500 a snowflake, and it's going to be a third of that come January 1st for the same snowflake. So I need to know if you guys want me to put all the quotes in a nice little format for you and get them all to you, or if you guys want to wait until January, or...
Well, why don't you put it together right now?
Okay.
And then we'll probably say wait till the beginning of the year, but at least we'll have something to compare it against then.
Okay.
I'm sure if we survive this long, we can probably go another Christmas, but that'll be
We
more
got something to hang up, don't we?
We have lights on.
We got lights
Yeah.
that string around the pole.
It's not great, but it's something.
Yeah.
So, but
58 poles.
I would-
53.
53. I was...
Every other divided by 2.
Even I
18
was
is-
shocked at the price. I mean, I literally, the one person I was speaking to, I went, listen, you're telling me $500 for this 4-foot by 4-foot snowflake, and the same thing only costs $300 from this other company, and they're like, I'm like, it's the same snowflake, and they're like, yeah.
My only thing is I think that, my opinion is that when you look down through, uniformity is huge. So when you start mixing, matching snowflakes to make them look different, that's when you start running into. Then again, once one breaks, you want to replace it. You can't find that one. I guess that's why you mix and match.
Well, they actually, they said that the brackets, they stay on, once you guys put them on, they'll just stay on. You won't even notice them in the summertime. And they said that, every company said that, you know, these snowflakes are sturdy and durable for up to 20 years. But,
Half snowflakes, half bells.
That's what you want to do? I don't have a problem with that, I'm just
I
saying.
went with snowflakes because
They're the cheapest,
not only are they the cheapest, but
least expensive.
they're, nobody can complain that it's deemed prejudicial one way or
I don't
another.
get involved in that.
You know,
I don't think bells are going to make much difference either.
I didn't know if bells were too religious, so I just went with
Oh,
snowflakes.
fireman.
Can't make everyone happy either way. Some people just don't like snow.
Okay,
So you want me to go ahead and put a packet together for next week's board meeting?
let's see what we've got, yeah.
Okay.
Do they give different price? Like if you order 10, is it this? If you order 20, it's
That
Get all
it
that,
is.
right? Yeah,
It is,
I mean-
but they won't tell me the specific price break. Like this one company has a very lovely lady that I get to talk to every day now. High pressure salesman. Oh my God, I can't believe how high pressure salesman.
Anyway, move along.
She told me that if we got 26, they'd be $230 a piece. And I said, okay, well if we only want 20, She goes, well, I can't tell you that. I can tell you how much 26 are, I can tell you how much 50 are, I can tell you how much, 70 are, and I'm like, okay, you can't tell me the difference. She just said, you gotta give us a number, we'll give you a quote.
What do you think, Paige, if we give her
26.
a chance to,
It's half almost. If it's
get a
53.
chance to have her try to see what she can come up with a figure. Maybe we can get something for this Christmas.
53 is, so if you want every
Oh,
other
I go
26,
26?
that'd be half, and we do every other poll to start.
Okay,
See what it is. I mean, we ain't gonna buy anything. Just,
Just see what's gonna run us.
okay.
Yeah. When these companies call, just say, give me a quote for 26. And a quote
Give me
for
your
27.
best quote.
Yeah, say, hey, you're competing.
Right.
Yeah,
Bottom line.
They know. They're-
Give us your January price.
okay.
It's good in January,
Shut
it'll
up.
be good now.
You wanna sell them or you wanna hang
How
on?
bad do you want to hang on to them?
Yep,
Yeah.
because it is October.
Actually, the one company said that they couldn't give us a price for, the one company said 26, so the next company I called, I said, give me a price for 26. They said, we can't, we don't have that many snowflakes that we could sell you left this year. I was like, okay, really? You're selling out already? And they're like, yeah.
It was meant to be.
There you go.
So, yeah.
What's that then? Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions?
Anything new?
No. No new businesses other than what I told you last month.
What about our favorite spot? Now, those may be the Chiefs' bailiwick here, but Allen Street.
That is cheap.
Let me get to you then. Okay, and how about that apartment house at the corner of Seward and Sophia? Got paint coming off it. Looks like it's dumb.
Are you requesting
I mentioned it to you once before.
I know, but remember I said I got other ones that have more paint coming off, so I was going after them first. I can move forward with that one
Yeah.
if you'd like me to.
I would like you to.
Okay.
Thank you. And how about the sign down at the school? That thing is annoying. And I'm walking when I go by it.
I don't, when you
The new
do
digital sign
traffic,
out there?
Yeah, every
Yeah.
5 seconds.
when you do
Less than
traffic,
5
I don't
seconds.
know how you don't get a massive headache. It blinks.
Who says I don't have a massive headache?
And
And
nothing
it
to
doesn't
do
have
with
anything to do with the sign.
the sign.
I drive by that sign all the time. I really never even notice it much.
Try to read it.
Try to
You
read
can't get through it.
It flashes every 4 count. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, flash.
Yep.
1, 2,
Maybe they
3,
can
4,
adjust
flash.
Well,
So-
that's the point.
I will make an appointment with.
I mean,
Dr. Elliott.
Wayland's, they keep theirs on for quite a while. One
Exactly.
shot, no.
And we now actually have a time that it's written in our zoning law, so.
Really? What is it?
They're not in compliance with. Remember with that zoning.
And what is
mandate?
it? Yeah, I know. What's the time?
20, 30 seconds, wasn't it, something like
I
that?
think it's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like 4 seconds right now, seriously.
The first thing I want to do is count. See how long it takes.
Yeah, so I will.
And I never get to 5 unless I'm really doing it fast.
I always look up. I'm happy it's turning so I can see what time it is because I know at 7:32 that traffic is not coming. I guess now I'm going to look at it every time I go by. Thank you. It's like singing a song and you can't get it out of your head.
Subliminal impact.
1, 2. I'm going to count.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Anyone have any questions for Tammy? Carry on, Trustee Nagel.
I will go with the fire department.
Okay, Greg's here, he's the chairman for the new truck committee. I'll let, why don't you go first, and get on. Actually, I put together a little thing like I did when we did 515. This really is a committee
Thank you.
that we started to look at the KME, the 1990 KME company. We have the old Jackson Hose truck back when we used to be separate companies and stuff. So just Actually, just wanted to list out who was on the committee. As you can see, a lot of experience there and stuff. And actually, the next page just lists out what our current equipment is, what year they are, the pump capacity, water capacity, if they have a foam tank on them. 515, the new truck has 2 of them on there. And just the cab size and, you know, how many SCBA seats we have in it, so, and what the main purpose is for each one of the vehicles and stuff, so. And really, the next page is really some of the issues that we are having with 516. It is a 28-year-old truck. Actually, when it was built to only be around for 15. It was never anything exaggerate or anything like that. It actually was a truck that I believe that was purchased before the 1991 regulations went into effect for NFPA, so it was rushed to get in because those regulations were pretty strict and probably would have cost a lot more. So we do have some significant issues with it. The rust issues are atrocious on both sides of the cab. As Gunn's probably mentioned to you, every time it leaves, it seems like it leaves a little bit behind.
It's getting lighter. It's getting lighter.
So, like I said, the compartments, we've actually already replaced 2 of the compartments. Once the truck wouldn't start, realized the battery was halfway through the compartment, so the main tire shorted that out. In our front hose compartment, actually, we needed to do some work with that, so, because that was completely run out. We do have electrical issues. Sometimes the truck doesn't start when we want it to. We have heating issues. If it runs for a long period of time, it does overheat. It gets hot more than it should. Valves on the pumps. Last time we had a pump test, there were some leaky valves. We just decided not to have them fixed. We're trying not to put any more money into this truck than we really have to. And like I said, some of the battery compartment and the hose pads are both rusted out pretty well. So really, when we replaced 515, the committee actually at that time was thinking about this truck too. So some of the stuff that we did with 515 was done so we wouldn't have to duplicate it on 516. That was one of our big things. And our goal really is really what we used to be was a department with 3 pumpers, and it was pretty much when you had a fire, it was ever whose truck got there first, they were the main attack truck. We moved that more into 514 is our attack truck. 515 is built for our rescues, our MVAs. And 516 is what we plan on doing, which is carrying more water than what we currently have on our things right now. We're changing. We're not going with a custom chassis, which is usually built by the fire truck manufacturers. I'm going with a commercial chassis. They're cheaper. We looked at Freightliner. We looked at International. We did look at Mack. Unfortunately, it's a little more expensive than I know. If someone comes in with a Mack low price, I don't think anybody would turn it down, but they are a little bit more expensive. So, and we also know that we've shifted. We're buying a lot more. We're contracting a lot more with towns that do not have hydrants there, so we do have a need for a lot more water. Some of our bigger fires actually have been outside of the village, and it's very tough when you're sitting there and you run out of water. You just don't have enough, and we have to wait for mutual aid and stuff. So, what we actually were proposing is we were going to go with a 2018 Freightliner chassis. Motor is a Detroit DT 13 450 horsepower motor. It's a big motor. It's as big as you can get in that chassis. What we did was we were really looking for torque on it to get out of the valley with the hills. So we weren't really looking for speed, we were looking for torque. And we usually use the Cummins motors here, but they didn't have enough torque in it. If we don't go with Cummins, we'd have to move into a bigger chassis, which would be more of an over-the-road, and then you'd have to really start modifying it for the fire service. So this one we feel will get us there. We did a lot of research on the motor, and there's no issues that we see out there. So it's a 2-man cab. Typically we have all our pumpers currently are a 6-man or an 8-man cab, so we downsized to 2-man, so we need a 2-man cab. We're going to govern it, have receives 60 miles per hour. It's a lot more weight on there than what we're used to. That extra 2,000 gallons of water, which we're proposing, is a lot of water, so a lot of weight. So it'll be a tandem axle again. Pump capacity will be the same. Tank is 3,000. 3,000 gallons. We'll have quick dumps on each side. They're 10-inch. That's for filling ponds. Same number of cross lays. Portable pond on it. We will have backup cameras. I think it's NFPA regulation. You at least have to have a backup camera on there, but we were going to put 2 additional ones on for the sides because it's a big truck, and when you're at a fire scene, most of the time it'll be backing up. So, and then again, we'll still carry our 600 feet of 5-inch hose and 3-inch hose, so it will still take a hydrant. What you actually have next is a picture of what Brockport's is, and this is very similar to what we're proposing, with the exception of the cab. The front cab actually will be a Freightliner. It won't have as much chrome on it and stuff as this one, but pretty much from the rear end back, it's pretty much what we would like to get and stuff. So. The next page really is just a comparison between the 2 trucks. Okay, the biggest difference really is the additional 2,000 feet or 2,000 gallons of water on it. So. And I just threw, like I did with 515, I threw a projected timeline because there is a long period of time between when the board allows you to bid it out, to advertising it, to receiving them, to reviewing them, to actually signing the contract, and then the time to build. Right now, actually, Rosenbauer, who we've been working with, it takes 365 days from the time they sign a contract to deliver a truck. So. With this timeline, it's pretty aggressive if we went with it and stuff. The truck probably would not show up until sometime in January 2019. So, and just going off of, I know with bonding with the town that your first year, your interest payment's 6 months after you receive it, and then your principal is actually 12 months. So I don't think there's any different for you. So it's a pretty aggressive thing, like I said. And actually, the last page is really the big thing for the village is the cost. It's estimated by Rosenbauer it's going to be $415,000. It's a lot higher than what we thought it would be. Just some of the things. I did talk with the rater for the ISO and stuff. I asked him what would happen if we didn't replace 516. He said that you would probably lose a point. You would lose a point in your ISO rating. We're very close. With our ISO rating, I think we're at a 51.74, he said. If we go into 49, the fire rating for the insurance in the village residents in the towns will decrease, so your insurance costs will go up. But he did say if we did go with the extra 2,000 gallons of water, we would pick up a point because we would have enough water. An initial response is what they call that to put out any major fire that we had, which he estimated at 4,250 gallons. So, and really, since one of the big things since Ocean went out of the fire department went out is we do not have a big tanker at this end of Livingston County. So that's another thing that we're looking at with the truck. I know it's a big commitment from the village and stuff, but I believe 514 will be going off in 2018, and then 518 goes off in 2020. Yeah. Last
What?
I knew.
Do you know off the top of your head what we bring in from the town contracts total?
In total, I know that the town North Dansville, I think, was 35.5. I think Ocean has got to be pushing pretty close to 30.
How much?
I think they were like 23, and then we picked up the additional area. So I bet you're pretty close to $70,000 a year. If you include South Danzo, the area we just picked up with them. I'm not sure how much that contract was worth. So you're going to be pushing at least $70,000, I think, on the contract. So stuff again, like I said, the The 3 trucks have really been designed, they'll be doing special things. They each have a special purpose, but they all can actually fight a fire. So if one of them is out of service or the other one's out of service, the other one can continue to attack a fire like they currently are now. So
What's the status on the grant? You heard anything yet?
haven't heard anything on the grant. I know that they're in round 17, which means they're pretty much at the end. So I don't really have much confidence in really getting that. I'd love it if we did. So there'll be a new grant period opening up. But we do very well with our equipment for some reason. I mean, we've gotten about $350,000 in the last 5 years from our air packs and our turnout gear. For some reason, we've never ever been able to get a fire truck, and I don't understand why.
Big cities got it.
Yeah, the big.
We don't.
We always get a letter saying that your newest pumper is too new or something like that, and it's like, you can't tell me the city of San Francisco, they get a brand new ladder truck that they don't have a new ladder truck sitting there already. So we just don't understand why we can never do it. So we've had grant writers write it for us. We just don't seem to ever get them. So, but we are fortunate because, like I said, they are very good with our other equipment.
Yeah, you've gotten quite a bit of money.
So what, I know that you said the last one was like, what, it was estimated to be about a 15-year truck. What would the estimation of the life expectancy of this truck be?
These trucks we're running, right now, we plan on 25 years on these trucks, at least. We don't, every truck that we've just replaced has probably been close to 30 years or 35. I mean, that Mack, you know how old the Mack was. And before that, we had the Crusader.
How much more is the Mack chassis?
The Mack chassis is probably 6,000. I'm thinking about what the pounds of that. They bid it out and Mack bid on it, and it was like 6,000. I know. Some people don't like Mack.
What? Why does it say we're eliminating a pumper? Is this a pumper tanker?
Well, there's always been a question whether you really need 3 pumpers in the village and stuff like that if you downsize and stuff. So that's why
if we did.
Yeah,
this would be just a pumper tanker.
Yeah, just as a pumper.
It's still a pumper though, right?
Oh yeah, you can still pump water, fight fire with it. You're just not going to haul as much manpower with it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And stuff. So.
Kind of like what we did with the rest of 515.
Now, what's the overall weight of this guy going to be? Because
are
you going to lose roads where you can't take it?
Yeah, it's going to be.
We ran into that with the MRAP. Are you going to lose?
Yeah, it's going to be 60 ton. It's rated. The chassis will be rated for 72,000 or 60,000.
60,000.
But the chassis is rated for 72,000.
So you're not going across Everman Road Bridge.
No,
Those are things you need to.
Right, how many roads are you not going to be able to?
And that's what we take into consideration. The ladder truck right now, we can't take certain places now because it's the weight.
Well, the other thing is that's a driver training issue. You
Yeah.
let them know what they've got and where they can go and how to get to where
Our
they need to be.
dispatcher would probably be on top of that too,
I don't know when the fire's going.
It'd be great, bro, but we can't even talk to them.
We're pretty good at knowing the area.
Yeah, where you go, can't go.
So, 2018, the one fire truck comes off.
Right, I think 514
Yeah.
Is that one where this one?
would be added on the following year. You wouldn't, if we went along with that schedule, you wouldn't hit your budget, I don't think, until the 2019-20.
Let's see, we got one. Let's see.
I think it's the 5
Hook and ladder comes off in 20.
20, yeah.
I do 5 and 4.
Fire truck number 2 principal.
And
Part of that went 16, I found. Part of it's going. I thought it was a 2.
Yeah,
Great truck.
one in 18, one in 20.
That's all the way down to the end.
Right. Now, with the truck, talking with actually the guy we're with, he also said that if they don't get the bid and their manufacturer says 270 days to do it and it comes in before you want it to, you can write in the actual spec or the advertisement that you will not accept the truck until a certain date. So you said they're fine with that. So it falls into the year that you actually want it to.
I think the budget year is really what you look at.
Yeah. And if you went with this, it would Rosenbauer schedule would fall within the May 19th, 2000. So what I was hoping to do was just present it to you tonight, give you a week to look at it and see if it's something that you'd like us to bid out.
6 days.
A week, huh?
Yeah.
I got a couple other questions. These are just roundhousers. What's the plan with the ladder truck? I mean, the ladder truck is going to be 20 years old by the time it's paid for here in another couple of years. You're telling us that the life expectancy of these trucks are 25 years, which means after we get it paid off, I mean, and then what's next? I mean, and then these are just from a concerned board member to say what kind of position is the village going to be in with this truck? Because I mean, I wasn't here when it was purchased. Just I guess want to have everything out for everyone to know.
When I would tell you, the ladder truck, actually, I think Pete asked, or the mayor asked a couple of years ago for a replacement schedule, I had that down for 25 years. In 25 years. And
25 years from now?
No, from 2025 is when you're looking at to replace that truck on a 25. Actually, anybody you take that to says it's in very good shape. The only issue you have, again, obviously, is the same issues we've always had with it, is the ladder.
Well, that's kind of without the ladder. I mean, it's kind of.
And the issue with the ladder really is there was only 3 of them ever made, so finding parts for them is very hard to do. But Rosenbauer, we had some issues with it. Rosenbauer made the parts for us last time to fix it. And I think there's some pretty good machine shops around here. If we ever had to do that too, they could probably. So you're looking at.
So possibility of pushing this out to a 30-year truck?
What's that?
The ladder?
The ladder. Oh, I think so. We wouldn't get rid of that. Believe me. The last thing we want to do is replace that ladder truck because they're running $1.2 million right now to replace that truck.
Yeah. And when you say we, I would like to encompass the rest of the room, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and like we said, we're hoping we'll keep that truck as long as we can keep it. It's a great truck. It really is. There's a lot of criticisms with it, but everything's been straightened out with it. But it is a really, for a fire truck, it is a really nice truck. Like I said, no one's given us any indication that we should be looking for another one. They all just say it's in great shape to some of the other trucks they've looked at, probably because more just at the beginning, a lot of the time it was out of service. But if we get 30 years out of it, we'll be happy, I think.
35?
I put 25. We don't want to replace it, believe me. And there's everyone around here is they're buying, like Jen says, buying used ones and stuff.
Well, I did, and I talked with Andrew Chandler, and he said how they bought the used one, 13 years old,
Yeah.
$300,000. And if they can get 13, 14 years out of it, and I didn't know if that was ever, and of course, me always trying to spin numbers in my head. I mean, if that was ever an ideal situation down the road, but I just was wondering what you guys thought about that truck now because.
Grass truck and the 519 are both 20 years old. You're not going to do anything with those if you do anything with those because until you need to. They're both in great shape. 519's got a little bit of rust that we'll probably be painting on it and stuff, so it's spattered some places. But it's 519's in good shape. And the ladder and the grass truck's in good shape. We don't replace them. We're not on a set schedule. So.
Greg, truck house. Holding our fire trucks and fire equipment, is the truck house set up very well for like dehumidify and things like that? I mean,
Well, they have heaters and stuff like that right in the truck house.
As far as helping to keep the equipment a lot longer than usual.
I don't know about that.
Is there anything that?
There's nothing really in the truck house for that.
Not dehumidifier or anything. We have primal
Set up
beds.
that way. I just thought just, technology and everything else,
Compared to where they used to be housed in.
Price of
old
everything.
buildings, it's a lot better.
Nowadays, the storage buildings, I thought maybe like the potato farms and everything else, you gotta have dehumidifier and things like that. Anyway, I probably have a question, but I thought I'd throw it out there anyway.
One thing they did well when they did design the truck house was they went with a 14-inch door. and the bays are deep enough, you never have an issue. If you, Sparta just got a brand new truck, and they're like 6 inches away from the back of their wall. I mean, people are modifying their buildings to fit these trucks.
No issues with this one? I remember when we got the first one, we had to raise the door.
Yeah, so we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, overall, push through from the old one.
So, like I said, Rosenbauer's who we've been working with, we're comfortable with them, but if whatever, someone comes in a little bit, we know we really have to come up with a hard reason not to accept it, and there's a lot of good manufacturers out there, so Rosenbauer is the number one. No, they build the number one.
Rosenbauer can't find $6 grand.
$6 grand?
And they get Mac.
We're spending the $6 grand for the Mac. We're spending the $6 grand for the
I
Mac.
almost don't. I mean, look at it. Look at the last Mac we had. It was this, what, a 76.5, and we just got rid of it not too long ago.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Macs are $6 grand more.
The one before that was 57 and went to
Well,
So got
they now one got rid of a
76.
truck that's 10 years newer than the Mac they had, so.
But I mean, it is true. I remember the day the KME was delivered. I went over and looked at it, and we looked at the corners, going, "How long before this thing starts rusting?" I mean, it was tack welded the day they delivered it.
It's been fortunate it's lasted this long, really.
Yeah, it really has.
So,
I haven't used them fire prevention because I don't want a kid falling through that thing, so it's been at the truck house.
No,
so that's
hanging on away, needed for a couple of years.
Anything else for Greg and the trucks? What about the rest of the fire report?
I sent one out. I sent a brief one out just saying the calls that we had. We had 12 in September, and we're up to 197 for the year. I'll get you guys a full report once our program gets up and going, gets information, like I said at the last meeting, but I just wanted to give you guys something on it. Fire prevention's going well. Down by the schools went well. We have the Main Street coming up. We're looking forward to that. And Charlie will need those signs Saturday. And that's about it. September was kind of slow, just getting everything ready for
We
fire
like slow.
prevention. Yeah. So, getting ready for fire prevention. Do need a time for the Halloween parade. When's that going to start? Does that start around 6?
I think it kicks off at 6.
Okay.
Yeah, usually what, about a half hour, make the route.
The cider and donuts.
So, and
We'll be getting to that. Cider and donuts in a minute.
that's it. If you guys need, I know last year you guys used the portable Honda units for the lighting out in front. If you need something like that, let us know. You guys used it for lighting for the donuts and the ciders and stuff.
Did we use portable lighting last year? I don't recall it.
Yeah, there was, we brought down, yeah, there was 1 or 2 that were brought down. I don't know if you guys used them, but we were asking.
I never touched them.
So maybe they just brought down just in case you needed them. But if you need them, let us know. We'll
Okay.
do that too. That's about all I have.
Okay.
thank you.
Well, good evening. Got another meeting now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Enjoy yourselves.
Chief's on a phone call.
Yeah, Jerry.
We have Jerry, the ambulance.
I don't think Scott's got the report broken down yet. He got it Monday afternoon. I did hear a figure kicked around of number of calls dropped for September was about 3. We've had some significant improvements to our scheduling. What used to be a big long weekly printout of what openings are is very small, and they're short time spans. So the coverage has been remarkably better. Last run number was 1,154. So we are cranking along. So we'll probably do 1,300 to 1,400 calls again this year. So, and they've been coming in bunches. couple weekends ago, we had a lot of back-to-back calls and rolled both rigs out the door quickly. So the coverage has been, I'm very pleased with the coverage. So I'll make sure Scott gets that report to you for next week. Like I said, we just got it Monday night. So
Did we get the last couple months reports yet?
I don't think so.
We haven't got a report
All right.
in months.
All right. We do have elections coming up in December. My understanding is there's going to be a lot of positions challenged. So I would probably,
Including yours?
including mine.
We like to see you.
Well, you're not going to get rid of me completely, I'm sure, because I'm not going to run. With the change in work, where now I'm going to have to drive the horse heads every day. The one thing I can't stand is somebody to get a position, get 3 months into it and say, I don't have time to do this, and then walk away. That's my pet peeve. I'm not going to risk it. I may only take a year off, but I'm sure I'm going to be a pain in somebody's butt. So,
You can do the monthly report if you'd like.
well, okay. There is actually somebody that we might have to go do that, so we got a little lieutenant that's taking care of a lot of stuff, so. Let's see. This would probably be for next year anyways, because our contract is going to be renewed for the workman's comp. But the NICOM questions, I didn't get the email on that, so that way we could kind of sift through it. Not a big rush on that, but you know, 'cause we're going to be in another year to comp. The ambulance contract itself, what we want to do with that.
Well, we need to sit down and talk about it. I don't know what, like I say, with your schedule, I don't know how that's working out.
Well, right now I'm not driving down there yet, but it's going to be, who knows. I'm not even sure what job I'm going to have down there, because my job that I have right now may or may not materialize down there. So I'll just transition back to where I started in the company. So they got the cart before the horse. That's all I'm going to say about that whole mess. So yeah, we'll sit down and talk about it.
You want to set up a date right now?
Sure.
Time? But obviously, what time do you get off? Around 4, 4:30?
Right now, 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll make it quick because at some point that drive's going to start. So I know we end production November 1st down here, and then it's going to be tearing down equipment and cleaning, and we've got to be out of the building down here by December 2nd.
Okay.
So,
Today's the 11th, tomorrow. You want to try to start tomorrow?
I got, yeah, let's do that.
2:30 then? Give yourself a little bit of time, 2:45, 3 o'clock?
Let's do 3:30.
3:30?
Yep.
Okay.
You did 4, I could try to make it if you want anyone else to sit in on it, but if you want to do it on your own, you
No.
can too.
It's fine with me. I 4 o'clock?
Up to you guys, I mean, I get out at 4.
You want to start right at 4 or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that'll work.
All right.
I just got another meeting tomorrow night, so.
I don't think.
Well, that'll be-
Yeah,
that'll be
that's
fine
not a
for
big
this
contract.
So, yeah. All right. Yep, that'll work. Let's see. I know we tried to do this back when the board transitioned and stuff. It didn't work out. I'll get the medics increase proposal to you guys. That way we can try to do something with the increase in the medics for a billing.
I mean the rates?
The rates, correct.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be a standard 2 to 3%. I'll see if I can get the report for the demand letters that we started doing, what
Increase
we've, if it's helped.
for the third letter.
I'll see, let me try to get a report.
Got me a call. I see, I received the call because of that.
Did they pay?
I don't know if they paid because they were complaining about it. Said they never got the original ones.
Okay.
Yep.
Pay the third one.
Well, okay, whatever.
That's another story.
Yeah. They never get the first one. So.
Not to go off the beat, but did they ever set up the paying abilities? I know we discussed about paying with a credit card.
Yep,
That was all set up?
yep. Folks just need to call MedX and we can do that with them.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. I know we discussed it.
Mhm.
I will have to see if Lynette is back to work. She had been out.
Yeah, I know they had a rate, or they had a number there, what was kind of outstanding.
Yeah.
If we can get whatever that number is, it'd be nice to hear, like, if it's a little lower.
Yeah. Yeah, Lynette and her husband were involved in a serious movie last night, back in the summer, so it was a few months before I found out. So I felt bad that it took me so long to figure that out.
Are they okay?
I think her husband just got back to work. He actually works in the prison, Scott is. So he just got back to work. They were going on vacation. They were a mile from their house.
Didn't make it, huh?
No, so.
Canada.
All right, so let me try to get that information to you by next week, or as soon as I can get it from them. I've had work done on both rigs, miscellaneous things. A little bit more work's got to be done. Backup cameras are both screwy, so they've got to be replaced. So I'm trying to stay on top of all the little things before they get to be big things. So, and with the closing of the McCarthy Tire location down here, we have a gas account for our ambulance pickup truck Gator through them, so we're going to have to look at something else. We did receive a gas key through the bus garage, but I locked it up until I can talk to you guys to see if you guys have a problem with us using that key to fuel the ambulance pickup. We used 168 gallons in 2016. It is used to go EMS business. We've responded, extra set of hands to calls. The officers.
Is that property of the ambulance company?
That is property of the ambulance company.
I don't know how that would go, putting gas in it's not property of the village. The ambulances are village property. I don't think it can be done, hopefully.
I just thought I'd ask, so.
We can check into it. I mean, I'd have to be above board. We can't just slide it in there on the side.
Yeah, no.
That could ruin everything.
I think that's where they got into trouble the last time, was when people were using it to put into private vehicles, right?
Who's the person to talk about with it? Business manager or Mike?
I think NICOM.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's anything really to do with school.
No, it'd be.
I mean, we can, it's already set up, they can go down and get gasoline for that, but like Danny says,
It's not a
that's
village.
something that would be a
Even the
Nikon question. I believe.
even the Gator is not property of the village.
Correct.
We'd be fueling secondary. I mean, I get what it's for, but
Yes.
it's not our property.
But it is the ambulance company, so maybe there is, maybe they can.
Would the school be willing to do a gas key for the ambulance company?
Pardon?
Would the school be willing to do a gas key for the ambulance company?
They already have one.
Yeah, they do that, but
No,
it
another
only.
gas key?
Well, that's.
Yeah, so the gas key, what happens
They're
is
diesel for the
their gas
ambulance.
key will only get them diesel because that's what the ambulances were set up for. So they had their own account, which they paid
I gave it.
through
Yes.
McCarthy. Well, with McCarthy closing, they got it once. Now they have a key that'll actually turn on the regular gasoline. But technically, they're not our vehicles. That's why they were only authorized through the school. At one
Would have to
point.
be billed separately.
But our keys are coded to us for billing purposes. So could there be a second key that's coded to the second account, to the Dansville Ambulance Company to bill them.
Yes, right now it's set up that
That's what I'm
way.
asking is, if in the meantime, would the school, I was just curious, would the school?
The school wants to do it, we're gonna send you guys the bill.
Right, and
Okay.
send the
Yeah.
Dansville
Okay,
Ambulance
is it-
Company the bill.
Is that the way that key is set up?
I don't
Will
know.
we get billed directly?
No, we would
No,
get billed, but,
okay.
I mean,
That was for,
could we
that's
do
for the
that internally
ambulances, we
here?
get billed.
I mean, it wouldn't be that
We
big.
would just call the school and ask them.
I mean, because we're not a municipality.
But I would want, I'd hate to see their gas all of a sudden get put in with like what the fire, you know, if it's all like, okay, they're gonna come in on the same bill as, let's say, the police department.
Well, that's what I'm recommending
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah, that's what I agree 100%.
It's separated now. I mean, it'll come in and say ambulance, gas.
Right, that's how that key is coded.
Right.
So what I'm suggesting, unless you work out something different, is just set up another account for the Dansville Ambulance Company with another key that's just coded to that account. That they would use that
That
key
bill
to fill the
goes to that.
gator or the truck.
And then that bill,
And they
see if
would
that bill
use
can go
our
right straight
key.
to them.
Right.
Why even circumvent?
I'm sure that the school would be happy to do that. I just didn't know how long it would take to look into the other, if that would help out in the meantime.
But if Pete looks into the other and they say we can do that, then problems solved. Really.
We filled up about 6 times. We got 6 bills for the whole year. So, but yeah, I wasn't sure if we could be billed directly for it.
Something you have to sit down and ask them, I guess.
Yeah, that would be up to the school on that end of it, but as far as going through us, I'd have to check with Mike on.
That'd be Mike's wife takes care of that down in school, Margaret.
Margaret, yeah.
Oh, it's my cousin.
There you go.
Okay.
I think that's all I got on the list.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one last thing, how many months do you think it's been, so you can go back? It's been 2, maybe 3 months since we've
I
had
would
it.
say at least.
I mean, and that's, in my estimation, it'd be
Okay.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotta be,
Well,
No, you're right.
nobody was even here last month.
which I
Yeah.
get, you know, there's busy times, but at least it's nothing to drop off a report, you know, I mean, and so, I mean, he's working on this month, well, I want the ambulance company to realize the village hasn't gotten one in 3 to 4 months. And in my estimation, it's gotta, you gotta have a monthly report. We don't wanna shoot the messenger, but,
No.
'cause we do like
I
seeing
will,
Jerry.
I will deliver the message. So, and I will deliver the message. I'll see if we can get a report from every single month this year.
We should be up to date, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
someone's gotta be reporting something back to the ambulance company.
Yeah.
Fred Miner does a great job. I went on a couple calls this week.
Yeah,
It
we've
reminded me how helpful he is and is going on with this week. How helpful he was this week just reminded me how helpful he is all the time. So just so you know.
Yeah, we've got some outstanding people out there.
Oh, absolutely, every one of them. Every one of them's putting time in, every one of them's outstanding.
We've got some outstanding people, so.
Anything else, Jerry?
I think that's it. Unless you got something else for me.
Anybody got anything for Mike or for Jerry? Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Fine.
For the chief's report. Training week, everybody's supposed to be out doing training this week. We got Officer Burley and Chapman out for a criminal debriefing class for 3 days, and then Officer Van Dunk's out for interview and interrogation for a week. Trying to take advantage of when it rains and pours, you go in months and months without a viable class it's worth sending anybody to, and then it never fails, you get 3 or 4 either right back to back or all at the same time that you want to get people into, so we're taking advantage of that this week. Homecoming parade Friday night. Fire department's all set to take care of that responsibility like they always do on the intersections and such. And then Saturday morning, I'll get with you on some barricades. Lately, we've had Scott just jumping barricades from place to place. It's almost like there's one event right after the other. And they just pick up the barricades for the last one and throw them on for the next one for us. And we drag them into place. Halloween parade, you said you're going to talk about that later on?
Yes, I was gonna get down there, Parks and Rec.
Okay. Still working through the traffic grant. Let's see. 117 Main Street. So you may remember we wrote a bunch of tickets to the owner of 117 and 20 Liberty Street for litter and not getting their apartments inspected. We charged them like 11 counts of whatever. So that kind of more or less came to a conclusion here this past week. So each owner, the two of them, each paid $200 fine each. They probably got $1,000 or more into their lawyer. They were given 72 hours to pick up the mess out back, clean the trench out front, including what was now a pretty significant sewage leak as well, probably 6 inches of sewage in that trench in front of 117. So that basically meant they had to have that cleaned up by Sunday morning, because we weren't counting business days, we were going to count calendar days. The sewage and the trench were cleaned probably by Saturday, but I know they were cleaned by Sunday for sure. Majority, well I shouldn't say majority, half of the pile of debris in the back, things like TVs, computers, that kind of stoves and things like that, those were all picked up and gone. There's probably 8 or 9 pieces of furniture, living room style furniture, big puffy couches and chairs and things like that, and 2 mattresses that are still out back. Tammy was in there doing an inspection yesterday, and we were kind of hoping that the owner would be down yesterday with the inspections, what he sent down to the assistant. But she ended up with an email correspondence with him where he basically said, yeah, I'm down to those pieces of furniture, and he got into some dissertation about how he's having difficulties with his garbage company of picking them up. She's still here, sorry, Tammy.
Yeah, that's okay.
And so he knows he's got to get that stuff cleaned up. We talked about it today, and basically he's over the 72 hours. So as it stands right now, we're just going to give him another ticket and start again.
I was saying yesterday I walked past there and it looked dumpy in the back.
Yeah. So we're just going to start with another ticket. Now that's kind of a 6-1 half dozen the other type thing, because obviously you can show up tomorrow with like I told him when he was here Thursday in court. I get all day long. He's trying to work with his refuge company, but he could run down to Duke and get a dumpster dropped off and load it up in half an hour and be done with it. And that didn't seem to really strike his fancy, but we'll see. So they're in the city, so they're not the easiest person to get our hands on. So I mean, if tomorrow he shows up here for some reason, then he can just get another ticket, start all over again. Then again, it might take us a week or 2 weeks or more to catch up to him just like last time, in which case anytime during that span he could end up cleaning it up. So we'll see what happens first. Chicken or the egg. And he's working with Tammy on getting the inspections done, and basically they worked out they would give him an ACD. Basically means if he complies with the inspections now and in the future, in 6 months the inspection tickets will be dismissed. So all in all, probably not a bad resolution, but I anticipate we'll probably just be right back at it.
6 months.
If that long.
Yeah.
Maybe before the end of the year. So we did get a, step forward, and and the whole time is we're building up a history base on it that, we started off, as we do with everyone, they got their notices from Tammy, they got their notices from me, they got their days of compliance, we've had them in court once before, they paid a token fine when they complied, this time we stuck heavier on the fines, and things like that, so we were contemplating the probability is what we anticipated is that when we came to work yesterday, the sewage probably wouldn't have been cleaned up, in which case we were looking to put a lot of work into it and build the distance of placard in the building, not fit for human occupation and kicking everybody out. But as it stands right now, we've dodged that bullet, which is a pretty significant, very significant undertaking to potentially empty a 11-unit building. But we will see where it all goes.
I was wondering what would happen if you had to go that route.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, because you're getting involved, depending on who's paying the rent, those organizations, the other government agencies that help pay the rent, things like that, and where to locate that many people, and that many children, and that many pets.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What do you do with the people?
Turns into it's a big deal. It's nothing you're going to just all of a sudden say, okay, we're going to start this one and be done with by one. It'll be probably a 3-4 day effort. So far, we're not there yet, but it's out there on the horizon. You said Allen Street, right?
Yes.
So I've been chasing that around with a ticket in my notebook for, 3 weeks now, and I submitted it to the court tonight for a summons, and we'll open it up to everybody down there to try to get their hands on him to get him in court.
Where's Allen Street?
Down there off of Morris, between Morris and Maple.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yep.
Stretch out.
Former-
Yeah, it's so close to me.
Former public servant.
Yes, no problem.
Then when you start talking about it last spring, and I know there's no good answer to it right off the bat, and it doesn't really require a lot of conversation really at this point, but I figured we just start talking about it a little sooner, maybe we could be in a better spot next summer with maybe some minor improvements to start trying to take care of Weidman Lane, to try to address the parking traffic for the school events, Babcock Park events. Yesterday was kind of this doesn't happen all the time, but it is going to happen from time to time. Statistically, it's not a huge deal, but when it happens, it's just annoying as hell. And that is, there's a softball game, a soccer game, football practice, and
Cross country.
Five school, I think, cross country.
Yeah, it's 3, 4.
So all at the same time, and everybody has what they want, which is all very understandable what they want. But not everybody necessarily recognizes that all these other events have to occur, and there's only so much parking, and there's only so many ways to get in and out, and there's a couple homeowners, they're very understanding, and homeowners on Weidman Lane are extremely understanding, but, when you've got a new driveway and 60 cars turn around, I don't know if it's 60, it might have been 30, but enough.
60. I watch.
Pulled in, backed out, the new gravel, that's not ideal, so, it may be between...
They actually more turned around in his brother's place than the gravel one.
Yeah.
They'll be able to land there, put a chair in and drive to try to avoid turnarounds. So he's just, he's a lifelong resident, paid his dues in this community for a lot of years, and, just wants to enjoy his
That's
property.
the new house there.
Yeah, so, it's difficult, everybody, and, another resident, caught it in advance, and he had his drop-offs and no parking signs. Through his problem for the afternoon, and so we did that, and he posted his property, and...
But that doesn't fix the problem.
No,
It
postpones
prolongs the problem. I mean, you can't go down through there and just decide that day, well, we're going to do no parking in front of your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fair to everyone.
Right. So, that's the thing, so I use that as an example as just how other, people in that area are trying to compensate for the difficulties, so if Scott, I, and Jeff Hayes can put our heads together again, maybe more than once, and try to come up with some...
How wide is the right-of-way through there, Scott? Is that pretty much maxed out?
I honestly don't know if Pete offhand, I'd have to look at the map.
Is that a 3-rod road?
I'm not sure down
Does
there.
that do, 75 foot from the center?
No, it's not that.
Not even that far?
I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for
It might be.
bleachers or anything as it is. And that's,
Well, there's definitely room for bleachers. It's just,
but, I mean, if you widen the road, there wouldn't
Yeah.
be any. It was just, they'd have to either shove the field over or put the bleachers on the other
and
side.
the field couldn't go over because it drops off there.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, at one point they talked about a parking lot at the end of that street. It was going to go out into one, and then the people on that street complained about traffic, and they didn't do it. But in the end, you can't have them both. You can't go both ways. There's either a parking lot to clear the streets up so emergency people can move in and out, or it's going to be clogged.
And the school's also talked about purchasing that property on the other side of the creek behind the school.
We're also talking about purchasing down across from the bus garage. Using that area.
It's a long ways to park, though.
No, but, move everything down there, football field and da-da-da-da.
Either one's all owned by the same people.
But yeah, yesterday, once a year I know that happens, because I know last year I sat at a soccer game and there was a cross-country meet on the same day. And of course there's always softball going on for another week or two. And it just turns into... I thought it was bad planning to the fact that there wasn't like a road closed, local traffic only put out at the corner of Livingston Boulevard.
One way.
And, because at the bridge, they shut it right off at the bridge because the runners go across there. So they block it right off. But if they would have had a sign out at Livingston Boulevard, you wouldn't have had the million people turning around. That would,
Well, and like blocking the street, they had it blocked, and I was kind of surprised to find it blocked, because that wasn't part of the conversation. So coming down and explain to them, you couldn't block it, you're gonna have to open it up. And, runners, let's face it, they're a group for the first 100 yards, and then they thin out pretty quick. You end up with 10-foot, 20-foot, 100-yard spaces between some of the runners.
Well, and they could, and they had people there, they could have let people through.
Right.
I sat there watching that going, there's no runners.
Right. So no matter what, next year we'll educate them a little more on the fact that they can, everybody right now is very, very protective after another town's unfortunate circumstance, and that's understandable too. So, like I said, statistically it's not that big a deal. It doesn't happen all the time, but there is a parking thing there pretty consistently, and then all of a sudden when there's 4 events at one time, it's really obvious. We could probably come up with some minor things on a short term to solve some stuff, something late next spring, early next summer.
And that was what I brought up last.
Probably start working on it right now.
Well, that's what I brought up
last
month
Couldn't
ago.
imagine
Doing something
those were up there also?
But they wouldn't let people across that bridge to go park on the side of the road. So now, rather than just saying, okay, there's no runners coming, go across and park and then you can walk, it basically just, thank God there was no emergency. You could not get an ambulance in there if you had to.
Yeah, that's what we told them.
Who closed the road? The school?
The funny part was I got a phone call in the morning to see if I would do a little bit of work after work and bring my patrol car down and block it off, and I said, I'm going to watch the soccer game, so I'm good, because my daughters were playing. I said, well, you want to just put your car there? I go, no, because I don't want the responsibility while I'm watching a game. I'm not going to be paying attention to that and take responsibility for something I can't do.
Well, my
So-
question would be, can the school close the road?
Not until
Not
the
legally.
chief, or
You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
the chief, the highway super, or a fire, or the fire chief are the only ones that can actually direct the road close. I don't even know if the mayor can actually direct it. He can have his, I'm not sure, but either way, it can't just be closed
School
off the
can't
village
just
street.
arbitrarily do it, technically.
That was the conversation, the initial conversations we had is there was nothing about closing it. But, it gets delegated down through and somebody's got the best intent in mind.
And if you go around it, you believe they put a road closer crossover in the park to not even allow so that people who are coming to play softball can't even get to the softball field without. And again, someone could be over there doing more of a directing traffic. Stopping traffic when the runners are coming would be a whole lot easier than.
Why have they moved it from Stony Brook to here? Did Stony Brook kick them out, or? That's where they always used to
Stony
do
Brook,
it.
I think, is an invitational. They run a big meet up there, but this is one of our regular local.
Yeah, but they
meets.
always used to run the
regular ones.
out there too.
Yeah, I know. I know for the last couple of years they've been down here.
Probably a busing thing, and
My kids yelling
because they're out of school,
Well, raise our taxes and bus them.
But
Anyway.
So you got the report there.
Mhm.
So, the officers are keeping busy. It looks like the person's arrested and nearly doubled, charges are nearly doubled. So it's, everybody's keeping busy. That's what you guys. I think you got the other responsibilities as well, because obviously policing is not all about arrests and tickets. You're just trying to be visible and trying to prevent some things along the way. That's all I got.
DWI money's been starting to be used, correct? And I'd like to get a monthly report on how many, while it's being used, how many stops and DWI arrests and tickets issued. That way, I just want to weigh it out because I know that we put a large sum of money out there. I want to weigh it out to benefits versus, if we would have used it. That's something I asked you.
25?
15.
15,000.
Yeah, I brought up before that I just wanted to kind of track it to see if it was more beneficial for that or equipment, because that's your two things you can use it for. But that's, just general stuff so we can see if it's worthy of that or if it would have been better spent on something else. And I think that I didn't heard from anyone officially, but we're losing one of our officers for a period of time as he's going away.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
We haven't talked about that before.
First I heard it was today.
No, my mistake then. Yeah, no, talk about it, so many people you lose track. But yeah, he's gone Air Force for 6 weeks.
Which one's that?
Shannon.
Okay.
The schedule's all set. It's not going to
Oh, you miss everybody when you don't have them, but
jack him around so it doesn't kill the overtime budget.
yeah, we've gotten things, the schedule we have pretty much compensates for that already. On the mid-morning to evening time frame. Nights is always tough, because we pretty much sucked every extra hour off that. So anytime there's a night vacancy, there's a difficulty there. But as far as midday to evenings, when you're trying to get, when the majority of people are out and about the community, the majority of traffic's out and moving, the majority of opportunities to do investigations when people are up and still sober, we've sucked every hour off any other portion of the day we can to put as much as we can in that 10 a.m. 10 p.m. spectrum. So when you lose somebody there for a period of time, it's not quite as noticeable as you do it outside of before 10 a.m. or after 10 p.m. It's a little more noticeable.
It's all set based on number of days he has available to him.
Yeah, what did we come to last time? I want to say it was 22, I think is what we settled on.
That's all set, so after that time period, he's got stuff he's going to use or whatever?
Yeah, I talked about it. He's chose to take no pay at those points.
How does that work if he's taking no pay towards health insurance contributions? Is there any there or anything else? Because I know that with no pay means that there's no health insurance contributions coming out.
Right, he doesn't have any coming out anyways.
Oh, he's a zero?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then as far as like retirement, if there were anything there, which there isn't with him anyways, they would just put it on hold for military.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay. Trustee Nagel, anything else?
Nope, I guess we're all set.
The justice reports are in the share folder, so I'll take a look at them, you can. And moving right along on budget, finance, and audit. Trustee Rittenhouse.
I don't have anything new.
Okay, do we have any modifications for next week?
I just uploaded the reports before tonight's meeting, so I haven't looked at them yet.
Okay.
We had the one large one last month that we didn't act on.
Right, and that's the whole LMC thing. I think the board wanted to wait on that one. Or wait, are we talking? We're talking about
The
something
position.
different.
There was a position there. You were saying that there was.
Right, so that would be.
Brian.
Did I leave?
That one was put on hold.
I left that on my sheet, which I'll send you guys.
He was not moved.
Who, Brian?
No, this is for the general fund for the road foreman. Remember, we just have to move money into that line item from whatever other line items, and you are out. And the board just wished to wait for you to make that move, so I can get with you tomorrow on that.
I think we should move some of the water if we want to move it, because that fund has been
So,
sitting there.
yeah, so if you want to do the inter-fund billing, we can do that.
That was one I remembered.
But he was being paid from water prior to his promotion to road foreman already.
But it's just until we get this straightened out, they're just out of whack. Hopefully maybe tonight we can straighten it out.
Okay.
So we can maybe talk about it tomorrow and then we'll update the board,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nothing else there. Justice audit. Gotta get that taken care of, let her out of here. And let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, one item back here, I forgot.
Oh, can I back up 1 second?
Yeah, go right ahead. Yep.
I still notice a lot of the cars' AVLs are not working. If you could have that checked out, because again today there was, I think one was on, 402 was on. I know the others were in training, but on a normal day, one car will be on, all the others will be off, if there's multiple cars on. Now I get today some guys are in training, so they probably may not have been logged on, they were just signed on and out of Hampton's Corners, but still on a daily basis, I mean, I look at it, I know I can see it, and do you have the ability to log on and check mobile to see what's on and where your guys are?
No, I don't get involved in it, and I know if they're parked someplace, I tell them to turn the cars off. I don't want the cars running when they're not moving. So if that turns the computer off, then that would lock them off as well, I would assume.
There you go.
Probably still running their inverter, though, right?
I don't want dead batteries, I don't want wasted gas, so I'm assuming if they're doing what I'm asking them to do, they're turning everything off.
Every time they park the car?
Yeah, I don't want it out here running on the ramp. You know,
No, I'm
if
saying
they're
like if they're,
If they're gonna go in and use the bathroom for 5 minutes, that's one thing, but if they're gonna get out in front of someone's house and then do a job in front of someone's house, I want the car to run street side, I want it off.
but they could still leave their inverter run, I leave mine
That's a good
running
question, yeah, I don't know.
all
I let
night.
mine runs all day.
The only time it's a problem is the holiday weekend if you forget about it.
Yes.
We got-
Get in there,
You
and
do
got
leave
that
that
beep going, and you know you're.
Yeah, when you get back in your car on Monday morning and the car's going,
I'll ask them if you-
Why, somebody experienced it this week?
Nah.
no, it's been a couple
No,
weeks.
it's
but-
happened, no. So I hear.
It's just I noticed that, and at some point, I mean, that's an officer's safety to have those AVLs on when the guys are out there, especially, you know, I come out on nights, and, you know, when I get called out, I'll turn my computer on and I'll look around. I see, you know, where people are, and it seems like our overnight cars are not on AVL, and that's,
Because don't they come on when the computer comes on?
should.
So
But again, if they're not working right, then they've got to be checked out. I mean, this has been a couple of months now that I've said they're not working.
I'm told repeatedly-
One car usually will be on, the other car won't.
I'm told repeatedly that they're all working, they're all good.
If they check with dispatch, is my AVL up and running? If a letter is sent to dispatch that says if our AVLs are not working, please notify us. Then they can keep track and say, hey, because a little red X pops up that says, hey, your AVL's not on, and they go right down through and see them. They do it for our guys. If you just say, hey, we'd like that same practice used to our guys because of officer safety, you know, it's a busy village down here and anything can happen. Just a simple
Sometimes
letter
you're
up there
looking-
that, hey, if we have a car on, please have them, if they're not, have them address that until it is on.
If somebody doesn't answer and you go looking for them, you don't know where to look. It's
Yeah.
they can zoom in with dispatch and tell you that's where the car is.
It should be our end, I mean, our end, there should be no reason why.
But you won't know. I mean, I've been driving around before and dispatch will call and be like, hey, 156, your AVL is not working. And I'll say, okay, so now I'll start looking, I'll open my GPS up and be like, oh, and I'll restart the GPS and they'll be like, oh, you just pop back up, you're on Cole Road. Yep, okay. But if dispatch doesn't know that they have you know, hey, if Dansville's AVLs are down, let them know, they won't check them because it's not something forward to them.
So you just need a letter?
Yep, letter to dispatch to say if the AVLs are not on, then let
I'll let
the guys
the
know.
officer know.
You want to type it up?
Yeah, I'll just have to
Okay.
take care of that, yeah.
That's all I have.
I'll remind the guys.
Yeah, just backing up on that. Oh, you got something else on that, trustee Zay?
Well,
I thought I heard somebody. I was going to bring up winter in the village.
I know we put enough effort into it, they should work.
This is more for the board than it is for you, but you may want to listen. The board wants to, for the last several years, they've done the wine walk on winter in the village. By law, you can't have open containers on Main Street, in the business section, or probably any place in the village, but definitely not over there, unless the board approves it. So what I need to do is have the board approve it. It's never been a problem as far as I know. A lot of people look forward to it. Every year it seems to go up in number of participants. They haven't had any, they say, any major problems.
No, the only inconvenience was not anything to do with winter in the village, it was just the standard bar patron that we had a difficulty whether it was winter in the village or any other neighborhood.
Sort of hooked himself onto the opportunity. Huh?
Yeah.
He just had more people to display to than he would have typically had.
Yeah.
If he displayed, it just would have been to 2 people instead of 200 people.
Yeah. So
I'll put that on the thing to do for next week.
Do it right now.
we do it now and do it next week. I told Barry I'd get back to him on that. It's a chamber event.
I'd make a motion that we allow open containers on Main Street during the winter of the village.
Okay.
Yeah,
For the wine walk?
The wine walk?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the word I was looking for.
I have a motion from trustee Zay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from trustee Nagel. Any discussion? Okay, trustee Rittenhouse?
Aye.
Trustee Zay?
Aye.
Trustee Nagel?
Aye.
And Mayor Zay. Okay, thank you. I'll get with
What day is the winter in the village?
I believe that is the 2nd of December. It's usually the first weekend, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I think maybe this year I may partake of that. So
It's almost your birthday, isn't it?
a couple
Get-
weeks after that.
You get to keep the glass.
That was just to protect somebody.
on call.
That protect somebody from getting a ticket. Basically all that's doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the officers have always been good. Last year, we didn't even give them the okay, but we all knew it. I mean, it
Like the
was,
chief says, to the guy that comes out of the bar and this is
Yeah.
okay.
You had done it anyways.
Yeah, he got done anyway.
okay, so moving right along.
Advertise it.
Public Works. And
I'll leave it up to
trustee,
Scott.
you got it. Water, sewer.
Oh, water sewer. I'll give you the update on the sewer plant, so that is good news.
Mhm.
That thing's buttoned up and closed out.
Finally.
On the water side, we have been putting a lot of valves in. Mike, you've been affected a couple times, I think, to shut down, right?
Yeah.
We actually did 3 last Wednesday night. Last Wednesday, we had to wait for the school for the little guys to leave over here.
Mm-hmm.
We shut off at 2:30. We did 3 valves in one day, and I think it was back on by, what, Mike, 5 maybe, right in there.
Yep.
So that
Five, I
basically,
think it was.
so that by doing those 3, we didn't have to shut you down 3 different days. So
2 days, right?
we did it 2 days, right? But 2 different. We
Yeah.
did 3 valves that day, 2 valves the other day. So it's 5 valves we put in over there. So everything over that neck of the woods has all new valves, and I can finally pave. Everything is fixed and up to date. So
All the
that's a
poles
good-
moved and everything?
Pardon?
Poles moved?
Poles are not moved. I don't know, Pete, if you want to give, my problem is now is with the cable company Spectrum. I had talked with him, there's one fella, I have his name and number at the shop. He's like in charge of this area. And I told him at least 3 weeks to a month ago, that we're going to need these things taken care of. So today I collared him and basically kind of a little bit of an attitude that, well, NICEC was supposed to alert them. I said, well, I told you, you sent an email then, you told me to your boss. It would take them a half a day to do it, he said, with a couple guys.
Now, do they have to move the poles, or they have to move just the
They
lines?
have to move their wires
Mhm.
first before the telephone company can. I had the telephone company all up there, they were ready to move them, but they couldn't because of Spectrum stuff is it's a long story, but the way they have to transfer them over, Spectrum stuff's in the way. So right now, Spectrum's holding it up. Frontier's been very good, they were, and then NICEC will come back, they're gonna take the poles out.
They're gonna take the-
They want the poles or something, whatever.
Okay.
But I'm down to now, I mean, because I asked the guy, I said, can you give me your supervisor's name or whatever? He goes, no, I can't do that. I'm like, what can we do? We gotta do something.
Well, give me the name and number tomorrow morning.
Oh, the guy that I talked to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming the guy I need to talk to.
Well, we
Do
need
we
to talk to
hold
somebody
their
up
ability
above.
to do service here? I mean, we
I'm not sure how that would
How does
work.
it work with the franchise?
that's what I'm saying. We do the franchise. If you pull the franchise, you're in
Mhm.
trouble. You can either go move it so we can finish our work, or we'll pull a franchise.
I'd have to
Probably
check.
most people in town would be happy if we pulled the franchise, because then they can go to a company that's working properly right now.
But I agree with Danny. It's really, I said to the guy, I go, look, I'm not asking for a whole lot here. I go, we don't ask for anything from you guys. 4 poles. You just said a half a day. Come on. How does that?
We'll be pulling a lot more than that soon.
But it's going to get to the point where I'm going to pave them. Poles, they're going to have to be right there. We'll put binder in this year, and what am I going to do? I mean, when the paver rolls in, it's getting paved, whether they're there or they're not. I've had it up here with these poles. I've spent hours upon hours upon hours.
Okay.
If the phone company moves theirs, maybe somehow those Spectrum ones get
Snipped out of the way.
Well, the Frontier will not move until Spectrum's out of the way.
Yeah.
They just can't do it. There's just too many wires that intermingle. And so
Yeah,
on.
it's going to be a real pain.
But I was ecstatic that we got NICEC up there and got everything done.
Mhm.
Thanks to Mr. Sick, he's a good boy. NICEC. He got right in there and got the job done.
Related to the local 6?
He's
Cousin or
out of
something?
Perry.
Maybe.
I know the guy.
Isn't he married to a Nagel?
He's my brother-in-law.
Well, maybe you don't think that way of him, Mike. I don't know. I think he's a great.
No, I couldn't say that.
No, he did it. He got right in there.
Partiality is all.
Helped us out and got
Okay.
the job done. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Alrighty.
I don't really want to get into this topic totally tonight, but sidewalks, I did make a few calls just to kind of bring you up to date. I talked to Wayland. They're pretty much exactly like we are. called Mont Morris, they don't do any right now. But the new mayor wants to get back into it, and similar to what we do. He just talked to Geneseo. Geneseo wants to go where basically the homeowner pays for half of the concrete, and the village pays for the other half and the labor. So pretty much everybody, and I've only called those three, so I've had time to do, is on the same page with us. And I mentioned to both of them what we proposed about taking it over, and they felt just like I did, it was crazy to do that. But again, it's up to you guys, you're the board, you decide. But so I'll leave it at that till I make some more calls to some other communities.
So this is just the Adams Street section we're talking about, correct?
Four poles, Mike?
Yeah.
Yes, 4 poles. Yep, 4 poles on Adams.
You know, they moved them back in the late 70s. Put them on one side and the other.
Oh, really?
They put them over, yeah, they put them over on, or
They put them over on the north side.
south side. They put them, they're on the south side now, right?
No, they're on the north, they're on the north
Vice
side.
versa, anyway. They moved them on one side and the other. I couldn't remember now, because I lived up there when they did that.
Well, the one pole's about ready to fall over, and put a screwdriver in it, is that right? So next Thursday, the mill will show up, and then hopefully the following week we'll get the streets paved.
What streets are we doing?
Some up on Highland, haven't really decided how.
I heard we were doing Highland all the way to the other township out there. Or all the way to the water plant.
No. There's like in front of Bobby and Pantino's in that area where it's bad. There's like a big dip in the road. That area we'll take care of.
Right up there by the old sheriff place.
Yeah, that area is bad.
Can't you ever take that hump out of there?
There's a water line there, so you can only take it down just so far.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I
I
wonder
know.
why that hump's even there.
I know.
Like somebody hadn't got it on up there.
So basically, Washington Street, parts that aren't paved, West Jefferson Extension, a little on Earl, and then actually tomorrow another fellow's coming in from Mont Morris, Gertrude. He's on the county bid, like Seward Street over here needs a patch, Park Ave, just patchwork to get us by. And I don't know about Elizabeth Street, so we gotta look at that, see what, do we put the patchwork on it now and then tear it up next year? I don't know. It's kinda, I would like to not do that because I think it looks bad. We'll put blacktop down and hopefully next year we do that road. But I guess that's up to you guys. Cruise down through it, see what you think. We could shim it and make it a little, so it rides a little better.
Thought that's what you were going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. I'm just saying, you want to do it and everybody's comfortable with that.
It's probably better than what it is right now.
It's tough to say, what's it going to cost? Well, it's a tough one to put a number on because when you start trimming, you're putting an inch here and 2 inches here and nothing here. And, it's not like in mill and fill, and I can say we're putting 2 inches down on the whole street. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad, but I could have him do that also. This Gertrude guy. So, if you guys really want to do that, then I'll do that. I'll put a blow-out patch on it.
Street gets a lot of traffic.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
I think we should get it done.
It's the main bike pass around downtown. Around the lights.
I just making a list of what you thought.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm asking if you want to do that because, that's...
See, he's coming Friday or tomorrow.
He's coming tomorrow morning to meet with me to go over these, to see what we
Motion
got.
on that, or what's the deal?
That, he can't give you a rough guess how much that'll be when he's here tomorrow, or
Oh,
not?
yeah, I can give you a rough guess. It's not going
Them are
to
things
break the
all
bank. It's
discussed
kind of like,
budget.
it's kind of like we did over here on, and I wouldn't even actually mind doing that if we could kind of roll it in with, how we did Knox Street, put the patch on it. I mean, it's still holding up pretty good.
And
More
actually,
likely, when you do that to Elizabeth, though, then you'll say, well, it's riding pretty good, we can get by another year. So it needs drainage work bad over there.
I would
it's
say
really bad.
I would just do this
Main section,
area where it actually needs it.
where they drive.
Yeah. Wouldn't waste, there may be some shoulder work you have to do a little bit to patch it. Over there by Vogler, I guess he was complaining.
Yeah, I really wanted to get the, and I would still like to do that, I'd like to start on the drainage over there and get that out through there. 'Cause that's, I gotta get that done going to paved road anyway. You know, that's a big project to get into the parking lots over there and everything else. That turns into a lot of work. So let me talk to him tomorrow, and I can, you know, he would be doing that next week. I'm just, you know, running out of days is the problem with trying to have him here paving, and I got guys milling, and...
When they shut down the asphalt?
Oh, we'll get asphalt, that's not a problem. We can get asphalt well into November.
Right.
You just don't want to be paving, and you know, when it's cold out. You know, but I didn't want to go this long, but this sort of happens every year. You get to this time of year, and it's hard to get guys. You know, and you can say, yeah, pave earlier, but to fix the infrastructure, it takes time, unfortunately. And that's the issue.
Okay.
I have another issue with, remember we put the water line, Murray, Deutsch, and Edmonds?
Mm-hmm.
Murray paid for everything as far as, because at the time, we didn't even know who owned the property, and then we found out that Edmonds owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might want to just try this, maybe your 2 cents in. So basically, well, go ahead and read it.
Okay.
So technically, it's a private line, if you will. So he would like to shut them off.
Private line, we don't do it, do we?
We would turn the curb on it, because Murray doesn't have a wrench to turn it.
Because Murray can't turn it off.
Pardon?
If it's a private line, we go in and turn it.
I mean, he can turn it off. I mean, that wouldn't be an issue.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just presenting what was presented to me. It's a bad situation. I'm sure that'll get the water bill paid. He has tenants in the house that are paying good rent, so I mean, just a matter of...
Well, tell me you have to kick them out.
You mean if it was turned off?
Yep. That would
Was
get
this
the
the
attention.
township?
Yep.
Township.
So that'd be the town's problem, no?
Yep.
I would say if
But
it's a
again,
private
here we
line-
have another situation where something wants to be done. We don't even have an agreement with the doggone town on that.
Correct. I also look at it, if it's a private line, if they wanted to borrow a wrench, it's up to them or something. But I would never have one of our guys turn anything on a private line. Only because you're taking some responsibility for that. I don't even know if you let them borrow the wrench. Tell them where you can get the wrench. It's a private line. Wouldn't you? I mean, would you disagree?
Well, yes and no.
What do we do with the people up,
If they don't pay their bills, we shut them off. Absolutely. We shut them off. But this is a little bit different. They're not, they don't.
You know,
he's
well,
not
that's
owed
funny.
it. But, we went up and we upgraded all those lines, okay? I mean, all that was done because that line, remember they never tapped the line way back in the day, it was leaking up there, da-da-da-da. He gave us, the village, an easement to have that water line installed across his property. Legally, I don't know where that puts us. Technically, it's the same situation we always run into with the township. It needs to get solved sooner or later, so that this doesn't happen. But I don't think I can stop him from shutting the line off. It says he paid for it. If he wants to shut that line off, I guess he can.
where's the shut off for that?
Up by Joe Taylor's house on that little Mills Corners Road.
By the old restaurant there.
Yeah, but at the end of the street. If you go right down through, you run right in the expressway.
Right in the expressway.
Right there.
Where's the
Or
apartment?
but does he shut himself off when he does that?
Yep, shut himself off too.
What's up with that? So where are we going?
He wants his money.
He's willing to shut it off and not have water.
And he's gotta move too.
No, he doesn't have to, because he's not a rental property.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's not getting the water. So,
Maybe he doesn't use a lot.
He doesn't use
Well, he's
water.
not gonna be home, so let's put it that way. You know, didn't really want that broadcast around the world, but he won't be home, so he's gonna be gone, out of town.
Okay, you need to tell us everything then, okay.
No, I'm telling you. You asked a question, I'm telling you.
Yeah, some people don't want it broadcasted throughout town.
So, I guess I'm kind of confused. The line is on his property.
The line runs, it basically picks up the main on that Mills Corners Road, okay? And it goes all the way down across Joe Taylor's property, which there was an easement for, that's in there, that $800. And it goes across Murray's and into that apartment house. And the problem we had was we had to tie the apartment house in at the time. We didn't know Mr. Edmund owned it, okay? Because we shut the old line off because it was leaking like a sieve. So they would have had zero water. And actually in the basement of that house, there was pumps and everything else, stuff was leaking all over. I mean, Mr. Edmund got a big favor by getting this new water line hooked up. He was able to get rid of everything in that basement. He'd had to spend way more than that just to fix the equipment he had.
Does anyone talk to Mr. Edmund and see what he thinks?
I've talked to him 100 times.
What's he say? Can you pay him?
Take care of it.
Well, I would say, very simply, if Mr. Deutsch wants to turn his water off, he can.
Kind of the way I felt.
Is it a
But
shut off?
I think we ought to check with the lawyer first before we do it.
Well, that's why it's here tonight.
Does the shut off belong to the village? Or is that a private shut off?
Technically, none of that belongs to us up there.
Yeah.
That's the problem. None of the lines. But yet, we have to go service them, and, you know, it's a situation that's been going on here for 100 years. It hasn't changed yet. Now, there is a...
Now, is that off the big line?
big line does have, that is in the...
That is a water district.
that's a water district. Yep.
So this isn't attached to that line?
Yes, it is.
Oh, then it's part of the district.
Yes, you know.
Now, if it's,
No, it is attached to that. Yes, it
if
is.
it's water coming off that line, it's part of the district. And,
It was coming off the line before. I mean,
well, there was a separate line up there at one point.
At one point, that was all gone. There was a 2-inch tap that was brought off the main line that fed all that up there. But it fed right into all the old lines. Okay, so we basically upgraded the old lines that were leaking really bad. So nothing has really changed as far as the district goes.
What I need to do is see the agreement from the district.
Karen has that downstairs.
I'll tell us who does what and when.
NEI, not enough information.
It's a bad situation.
So basically, he was just wanted us to know what he was doing. But if he
Well,
said,
I mean, he wanted our blessing that what he was going to do, you know.
I guess he can shut off his water. But how much of that is our
it's a double-edged sword.
responsibility?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
I mean, I can go over and ask John and get his opinion. See what he says.
Well, I'd like to see the other agreement first. Show just to what extent we're liable for that line and
Can you get that
everything.
for Pete in the morning? And I can just ask Karen to...
Yeah, I think I sent all of them out to the board, but I can kind of think I have electronic.
Okay.
And also, this isn't a Village of Dansville bill. This isn't a bill that we paid. This
No.
is, you know, this
Oh,
is,
no,
this
no.
is something between those two people.
Right.
You really ought to take them to court.
Small thing.
Technically, we would, if we shut the water off, then the village would be being the henchman for Mr. Deutsch.
Right.
And at no point do I think that the village wants to put ourselves in that light. I mean, if it's a civil suit, then he could take Mr. Edmund to small claims court over his $1,000 or whatever, but I don't think that we should intervene in the middle of their civil issue.
If any municipality, that would be the town side, not ours. It's going to be the town court anyway.
I think we'd have to be clear whether it's a village shut-off though or not.
Yeah.
Like
There's an argument to be made that that's part of the district.
if that's a village
Yeah.
shut-off, he probably can't touch that, right?
Yeah, be no
Obviously,
different than anybody in the village.
No, I can't just go shut my own water off, right?
You can have it shut off.
You can shut it off at the valve in your house and that's it.
You know what I'm saying? I can't go out to the street side shut-off or whatever.
No.
You gotta
Like
run.
I can find it. No, but I don't think you're probably allowed to do it.
No,
You can't
no,
touch a
you're not,
village,
no.
a village utility.
Right.
You have to call
Right.
a village guy, even
I'm
if
saying,
it's,
so I
even
don't-
if it's leaking all over the road, you still, even if you have a wrench, you can't. You're not allowed. You have to wait for one of our guys.
I think Dan's probably right. Our opinion should be you probably can't turn it off and you should take him small claims.
Yeah.
Put it in
Village
court
is
and
not
figure
going
it
to
out there. I mean,
my vote would be the village is not going to act on this.
Yeah.
It's a court
probably got a good small claims case on it. You can say, hey, this is what we did. I'm only asking for half the money, you know, it's, and the judge can say, well, you're not gonna have to give you a quarter or something, they can be done with it. It's
Yeah.
just my 2 cents.
But I'd still like to look at the agreement, so understand that fully. But, yeah, like I say, that's, as far as the claim goes, that's got nothing to do with us. Alrighty.
Scott, what is the date, did you start construction of to the dump landfill for the building we put up there, we Greg put up there?
No, I have not started that.
What I was gonna ask you, is that, I know, is that gonna be a taxable building that, that's up there?
I would imagine. I don't know.
Would be, it's
Right
not
now
part
we're
of the village.
Municipality, though, I mean, I don't know.
It's outside the village.
Right now, we're exempt, right? But I wonder if they put the building on.
That property should be taxable, I would think. It's outside the village. It's not contiguous to any of the village, so it's not annexed. That should be part of it. We should be paying property taxes on
Do you know,
it.
Megan, on
I
that?
wonder
For
by
what?
putting the
Property
building
tax
on.
on the dump, you know what we pay for that, any idea? You remember seeing that bill?
I don't think anything, nothing for the dump. Though we only paid taxes for our water property.
You know, the dam up there on the creek and both the little one and the big one, the reservoir.
Why wouldn't we pay on the dump? Good question, Mike, I don't know.
I was wondering if we
I-
could put
I
the
thought
building up there,
municipality
whether we had to
didn't.
pay extra taxes on because the building.
Well, technically, unless there's an agreement somewhere, that would be the only reason that we wouldn't be paying it, if there's some sort of an agreement. But we ought to be careful what we ask for.
I don't know if we want to re-ask.
Well, they did remove, what was that one that we bought that we tore the house down?
35, was it?
We had to pay 1 year town and county and school tax because of when our closing happened.
Yeah.
But then Holly did remove it the following year.
Yeah, but see, that's also in the village too, and now it's village-owned property, so we
But then
don't,
we didn't have to pay town and county or school.
on that
Or
property.
She said we won't have to.
No, on that property, we don't.
Right.
It's like we don't pay for anything we own in the village itself. As long as, that's the reason why we own Highland all the way out to the plant. That makes it contiguous through the village property. It's all within our borders. The same thing with the wastewater treatment plant. Otherwise, we would be paying on them. We pay on the reservoir, the big one up there in the town of Wayland, and we paid for the dam, I think they're the intake in Mill Creek.
Well, bottom line is that is village property, the dump though, right?
It is ours, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a good question, whether or not
Yeah.
we pay taxes at all. Apparently we
I was
don't.
wondering because
But why we don't, I don't know.
We're gonna put the building up there, like leading to.
That could, yeah.
And that might even open up Pandora's box. Being up there, you know?
Yeah, I know what you
Maybe
mean.
we should find out first. Huh?
Yep, I think we better.
It's time to get nervous. Guys got a list of numbers or something over there.
Yeah, this is a sore subject, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we could finish up other issues first.
I don't have any other issues.
I bet I do.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Number one,
Yep.
how's the brush pickup going? How much did they get finished today?
I think that side of town there might be a little bit left. but
Because
not
there was a
much.
lot at noontime today.
Yeah, but I put the other crew out there too. So Brian said he did all the lower section from Livingston Boulevard all the way
They
up.
started that in this time.
Well, and then the other guys are coming this way, so
Okay.
it's got to be pretty well done on that side.
All right.
Kyle, you been over there, Charlie, late?
I went over and checked. They've got cottage to do, Sophia, a couple piles on Clay, and then Van Campen.
Okay.
That might be it over there.
All right.
Not a lot.
And then, of course, the west side.
Yeah.
How about the easement? Anybody heard any more?
Did anybody get a hold of John? As far as-
I caught him that first time. That's when he sent us back the letter he had sent to, what's his name down there, Alan, the attorney in Geneseo. What's his first name? Alan.
Mike Allen?
No, the one out at Geneseo.
Oh, Kevin Van
Kevin,
Allen?
yes. Van Allen, is it?
Yep.
Okay. That's the last I had heard. I can check with them again, but last we knew, they hadn't done anything.
Well, last that I knew, it was all in John's hands. That's what.
But he hadn't gotten it yet.
As of.
Remember we were told he was supposed to have it? He didn't have it. That's why he sent the letter to Van Allen. I'll check that one tomorrow. Okay. Okie doke. I'll jump up to your stuff.
And then, how about as far as the help goes, like Dave and Chris, are we going to do anything with that situation?
Well, we need to resolve that next week.
At the board meeting, or, I mean, how does that?
Yeah, we need to hire both of them
Right.
if we're going to do any.
Okay.
Well, Matt's gone, isn't he?
That's gone.
Yeah. Let's see.
Gone.
Hunting.
Oh. No.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I kind of like having this big table.
Did you get one?
That's about a picture of one.
I haven't seen it.
Oh.
I was going to say we could talk with him about it, but I've already talked with him a couple times, so.
I mean, I think they're going to be happy as long as he gets hired as the laborer, like we planned, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Chris really should get hired back to the date that you guys approved him that night. That's the way
I
I
get paid the same money anyways, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Dave?
No, Chris.
Chris? No, he's still at the rate that we set him, but he would be full-time then, at the regular rate. I mean, you guys approved him one night, but then he had to stop it, basically, if you will. So he's still just a part-timer right now, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
They had a grievance. We violated the contract, so I had to null and void it.
How do we violate the contract?
We did not give them notice.
Give what notice? What,
You have to give them written notice 10 days in advance of any changes. We hadn't done that. That's on the emails on that.
I knew there was some talk of grievances.
No, they actually did it.
Oh. So what do we got to do to make it right? We got to notify them 10 days in advance
It's already been taken care of.
that we're going to...
I've done that since then. But anytime you change anything that has to do with the contract, manpower issues. So we'll have a resolution on that for next week. Just bring it back to where it should be.
That would fix a lot of the ordeal with what you were talking about, transfer money back and forth if we put someone up there.
Mm-hmm.
if we'd have done them both that night, it would have been an issue.
Yep.
It was basically a lack of communication. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank. But
So, okay, where are we?
So basically, I just put that together like you asked for on that excavator.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you can go through this list of, these are just some things I, thought of that we need to do sometimes. And you can say that, well, it won't take you a month to do this, or it won't take you a month to do that, but, again,
You need to go conservative on these times,
well,
relying on delays.
well,
'Cause it-
yeah, I mean, you just, but I guess what I'm saying is, it's $1,000 to get one of these things trucked in and out, okay? When I bring it in, you still to start a job, right now it's raining, okay? It might be raining for 3 days, you don't do anything, and then 4 things come up and this and that. So, just back and forth $1,000. Then if you can get your hands on one, okay? But we've got some pretty significant projects coming up that we need a machine for. So, I said I'd get a guarantee from Jack, and I did.
What was the price on the machine to start with?
It's $198, but we have rent now. I mean, again, we have to have, I know Pete's a little hesitant on it. If you guys want to go forward with it, then I'll get the numbers right down to where they need to be. But if not, I don't want to waste my time because it's a lot of work to get everything to where it needs to be. As far as, how long am I going to keep it this fall? How much rent will I have in it? If we're going to do William Street like I'd like to this fall, it needs to stay for that. So that's another month's rent right there, and it's $6,500 a month.
Well, we got all the blocks down there. I mean, it's got to.
Right. Well, but to let it go back, like I say, we've got a lot of rent in it now, so it's
Is it 2016 though? I thought it was a 2017.
I believe it's 16. But that machine that we have, I wouldn't keep. I would get a lower hour machine. He already said he would trade it out now and give us and I'm not saying that that'll be a 16 or 17, I don't know. But he would give me a machine that's got 400 or 500 hours on it.
How many is that one?
1,000. And it's got some issues, not issues, but I mean the track's been on it, and it's got some little things that, if we're going to buy it, I wouldn't want it. Just for resale value down the road, it's a rental, and
How would we move it around the village?
it's been moved around this village all summer. Dan, you haven't seen it, go have you?
No.
So, I get her done. No, but I mean, there's going to be times you'll have to pay, but it's going to be $150 or something to move it. It's not going to be $1,000. $1,000 when it goes home. But again, it's not a piece that you can keep for too long. I mean, you get 1,000 hours on it, it's still going to be worth 140, 150 grand. That's just, they don't lose money. They don't. I got one sitting in my barn. It's worth more than I paid for it. Just the way it is. It's heavy equipment. The new ones keep getting more expensive, and the older ones hold it in. But again, yeah, you look at the list. And how much of that can I do in a couple of years? I don't even know. I'm not sure not going to do everything that's on that list in 2 years. That's impossible. But there's a lot of work on here to be done. That to rent this out, I don't have it in my budget. I just don't. I don't have this kind of rental in my budget to pay out. So we would have to look at other ways to pay for it, that's all.
Now, you have a line for your equipment. How much of that line item would be, used to take care of paying for this?
You mean as far as paying for the whole cost of it?
Yeah, I mean, what's your yearly amount in there, and what else do you have, that we've been paying on that would free up soon? And
I'd have to go through all that. If we're going to go to that point. That's how you want to structure it. Does that all come out of my budget? I mean, I don't think I can take it all in my budget in 1 year. That's for sure. I mean, that's a fair amount I could. So it just boils down to what you guys don't understand is when I want to go do something, and it's here, you go do it. But to try to plan, you got to get it back, do your job. And I'm not saying we can't do that, because we can. But you're going to spend a whole lot more money that way. So, we can leave it at that for now and have a conversation later, I guess.
well, I mean, I just like to see the numbers crunched a little bit to see kind of like what it looks like, and you know, we've tried to stay away from the you know, the debt calendar and keeping things off from that and paying for things, and you know, and I get the fact that it's definitely going to help you get a lot of projects done, and that's what we like to see is projects, you know, being worked on and done and everything. Just, you know, I look at the financial end of it. How do we pay for it? What's it look like?
That's why I look at the financial end, and it's like, where do you come up with the money to pay all the rent on, to do everything we got to do? That's the problem. I look at it now, it's got $30,000 worth of rent in it. We keep it for 2 years, it costs us 20 grand. It's almost like a no-brainer, but yeah, you got to front the money for it. But in my world, that's the smart way to do it, you know? And you have it here whenever you want to go work it. You work it 2 hours today or 2 days, and it sits for a week. It's not like it's killing you. But when you're paying $6,500 a month and that thing's not moving, that's ugly. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is here. I can't go, you know, things happen every day. I didn't want to go put 5 valves in, but there was a guy's basement that was leaking over here because the hydrant was leaking. We couldn't shut it off. There's a week's worth of work right there. We're done. We got to go fix it. You know, it's just the way it works around here, unfortunately. I wish it was different, but it's not.
Unfortunately, that is the problem. We got so much that has to be caught up with.
Yep.
You know, if we were normal times, which I don't think there ever are any, but if things have been maintained all along.
A lot of the stuff I don't have, you know, as a board member, I don't have a problem with that. I guess my problem is, you know, explaining to the village people.
And I agree with that, Mike. It's,
how we're going to spend
perception.
this, why we're spending money on it. They don't understand.
I know, but that's where you got. That's where you have to make the decision. That's where you
Yep.
know. That's what you're here for. It's not a, you know.
That's what we get paid to do. To
You got to do what's right for the village. And for me,
No, I agree with all of you. You know, and
it's hard. I agree. When you got something like sitting there, but then stop and go up and look at the reservoir. What we did.
There's
Look
too
at.
many people in this town that don't work. I didn't say that. I mean, that don't are
I
retired,
understand.
are home all the time, and they start seeing a lot of things. They're gone to Kodak every day. And
No, they have valid arguments, but again, like you say, they don't have a full grasp of
that's right.
the whole story,
That's right. We got to figure out ways to
and it's difficult.
explain to the village people.
Years of neglect is you know, always comes due it at the hand of something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go
You
back
pay
to
for it one way or
we
another.
Go back to the police cars, and you know, for years, Charlie's, the chief's police cars were overlooked and turned away, and this and that, and they got them to the point where they. And I said in a public meeting, well, I don't know if they were able to be competing in a derby. You know, I mean, they were in bad, rough shape. You know, and that's where some of the other places are too. I mean, let's look at our highway trucks. They're still moving, but not in reverse.
But then we've actually shifted money around to do other things. But you know, you're talking about putting reserve money away. We didn't do that, did we, Charlie? 4 years ago, it was like, how do we pay the bills? You know, we've come a long ways, and we've done a lot of stuff out here.
But we also were presented this evening with a proposal for a fire truck.
But what would you have done with that 4 years ago? We ended up paying cash for it, you know, which I was really against, but we did it. And we've come
We
a
don't
long
have
ways.
that debt anymore.
Yeah, so
You know,
we've done a pile of work out there. You know, we've bought equipment, and I'll tell you, for what we're doing out there with the guys I have, it's a lot.
I would always venture to say that when you get involved with something, you always try to leave it in better shape than when you found it. And I feel even in the short 2 years that I've been on the board that the village is in nicer shape now than it was when we started. You could look at projects that have been completed, and you know, not by my hands, but by the people that work for the village. You know, you go right down to codification and things are going on in the clerk's office, down to the police department, you know, the highway department, water and sewer. I mean, things are in better shape than they were, but it didn't get there because we sat up here going, well, and you know, we listened to it all the time. You know, loaders, this, and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, if you don't have the equipment, and I'm not sitting here, I'm just saying, if you don't have this stuff, we could also have the old Tonka and have a guy down at the shop and we're paying him $25 an hour to wrench on it.
No,
You know,
that's not what I'm getting at.
no, I'm just kind of talking about the fact that
I agree with no equipment, that's for sure, you know, but And I wanna see it
Believe me,
happen.
I wanted to get rid of one of the little minis so we could get the, if you're gonna go.
That's just, I threw it out there though.
No, I get it.
That's fine.
And like you said last time we talked about, I look as we're buying it for $50,000. If you're gonna buy it for 200 and sell it for 150, when you're done using it,
Really,
you
we're
only
buying
bought
it for 20.
You know what I'm saying? Right,
Because
because we already owe.
the money's is
Well,
a
we already-
big portion of the startup.
Exactly.
And if you got your residual to sell back, you look at residuals at 160,
Right,
then you're right now, you're at around 10,
right.
right? I mean,
If you want another guarantee from Jack, I'll get you another guarantee that says a year out, I'm gonna pay you this, because it will be pretty much the same guarantee.
Right.
but here's, I wish that thing wasn't running, but the end result is we took heat 2 years ago, and that's all I heard about was a bulldozer. You know what? I don't hear word one, and I hope no one listens to that, but I mean, it's just, it's a flavor of the week. It's whatever. Sometimes our biggest problems come from within, complaining about the stuff we have because it creates work. Well, I don't know. But I mean, I'm all for. The sad part is I see the economics of it, and I try to look at the economics of it, and the economics of this says to do one more project pays for what this is going to be. So if we're going to pay for this in rent, to do William Street to Prime Street and put them blocks in, it pays for the machine to have for another year to do other projects. Because we're going to have to pay a month's rent. There's almost 10 grand, $6,500 a month and a half.
You
Right?
gotta truck it in and out, unfortunately, it's expensive.
So you're
It's another
there.
grand.
It's just a matter of, it's always hard to spend money. But
Justifying is a big, that's what we gotta justify everything, and this sounds good, okay? This sounds very good to me, it really does. We just find a way to.
And we've been through this time and again. You can explain it to some people and they'll never get it. I'm sorry, but there are people still complaining about water and sewer rates.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I had that discussion 4 times in the last week.
I know you have. I've seen it on Facebook.
And I try to explain it as good as I can. Can't
Yeah,
I? I mean,
and you can't. Because there's some people, no matter what you tell them,
Never gonna go
they're
down.
never going to believe you. They're never going to accept it. And
I thought
that's
I
just a
tried
fact
nicely.
that, oh, you did. You did. I found
Yeah,
out
quiet
about it
down.
because my daughter in Texas saw it.
They quieted down though.
Somewhat.
And I was trying. I mean,
No, I'm not arguing about that at all. I'm just saying, I just happened to hear it on Saturday night, and the last thing I wanted to hear on Saturday night is what
it was
was on
Saturday
Facebook.
afternoon. It was Saturday afternoon when I was texting, and I just was like, I didn't want to hear it, but I also wanted to.
Because the individual that was making the loudest noise on that has a lot of issues to be
Oh yeah.
And I don't think we've seen the end of these broken pipes either in the street.
Oh, no. It's ongoing. It's just-
Yeah, I've seen some of this, I've looked in some of the holes that he's been.
What it cost us in rent last year when we rented it to box out Austin. We had it up there for a month, 2 months, but it didn't. But if let's say
It would
would have been 65,
That
would have been 13 grand to have it there for 2 months.
Exactly.
So we save money there.
And we save every time we get it moved too, because we move it for free.
Mhm. Well, we can decide on that then, what, next week?
I'd like to see some
Give a little bit
of the
of
finer numbers.
Okay.
I mean, just so I can have it all laid out so that I can explain it. Because you know what? We will explain it.
we need.
There will be questions. There'll be a lot. And in the end, I mean, how are we going to pay for it is one of the things, budgetary wise, how is it going to look to be paid for? But I'm not against it.
Well,
Not against it at all. But I'm not saying right now that I'm for it. I just want to see the finer points of it. Is that okay? I mean,
Any other questions?
I guess, when was this supposed to go back?
well, at this point, the FEMA work is done, so I'll, keep it for basically another month so I can get William Street done. So we have a month to decide,
Okay.
at that point. Then we have to really make a decision
Yep.
once it goes back.
Have we been paying this rent on a monthly basis? I wasn't sure if we had or not.
Yep, absolutely.
I've seen the bills, but I didn't
Yep.
check on what piece of equipment they were for. Okay. Anything else?
Let's see if you could figure out what piece of equipment he's gonna get us with the hours, so we can kinda have that in our head to kinda, is that a possibility?
No, yeah, I just, like I say, if you don't wanna go forward, then we stop tonight and it ends, and we use it another month, send it back. But if you wanna look at it further, yes, I'll get all the numbers. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's worth a shot.
It's worth looking at.
Look at the numbers anyway.
Okay, Parks and Rec. Halloween donut table. No, I mean setting it up and manning it.
Wanna pay overtime?
Now last year, hello. Volunteer thing.
Okay.
Voluntold.
I will be there, but the problem is I have to leave part of the time to go over and take care of the crowning of King and Queen Pogue. My mayoral responsibility on Halloween.
How many people do you need, sir?
Well, it only takes 2 people.
Pretty sure I could help out.
You got Mike? Okay.
I could probably be there. I think I might call is the only.
Well, that's, as long as there's 2 of us, if Mike, you want to show up, and
Sure.
Megan will get
I mean, I
everything
can
for
come
us.
I got an 11-year-old,
Yeah.
kinda right in that, I'm almost to the end of Halloween, but I'm just,
Pretty sure my 20 and 18-year-old.
But our other-
coming home from college for it, so.
Clerk's office used to do it, but that was when they were older and they didn't have, the current employees have
she's
little
in the
ones.
same category as I am,
Yep.
she's got little ones, I got
You got
one
little
last
one?
one.
Jess has little ones, more or less, and
If I can make it, I'll be there.
and
I just
Karen's
don't know
usually
what's gonna
taking
be
her
going on.
grandchildren around, so,
I'm
okay.
sure Rob will be running
Yep.
around with Grayson, so.
Yep. So I think we're okay,
I might
Megan.
be at the last
Good to
year,
go.
right on that.
You're gonna wear a costume, right? You know it's mandatory.
Wait till I take mine off.
Well, I don't know if the world's ready for that.
Okay, that was a big one there. And see, how are we doing on the GovPayNet business with paying online? Have we
So-
looked into that anymore?
Yeah, I read through it a little bit. I read the rates and stuff. So if we do want to do that, it's up to you guys. We don't have to wait for our website. I kind of like the idea of directing people to our website and then click on a link. But we could give people their website if we wanted to move forward with it quicker. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at.
How far are we away from our website?
Agreement.
Well, we're in the process now of migrating the information from ours to the new one. We're looking at a few weeks on that, plus anything else we want to add in. There's a list they gave us, and it's been pretty hectic the last couple of weeks, so we haven't gotten a whole lot done on that since our conversation with the project team there. But we're looking at, what did we say, December?
I can't remember.
I want to say they're doing the training either late November, first part of December, and then
Oh, yes, that's
it was
right.
around the holidays. We want to either do it just before or
Right,
wait
we're
till
going to try
January.
to do the training
Yeah.
then, right around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the maintenance, or if there's things being added, I think at this point a lot of that's going to fall on Jess, if she's able to, because now we have the general code books
Yes.
in.
Which is this right here, if anybody's interested in taking a look at. That is our new code.
And that's what I'll be focusing my attention on.
This has a whole bunch of stuff we're going to have to go over, and probably be done in-house, and then we'll give it to the board to take a look at. We've given a copy to John, right?
Not yet, only because we decided to have Charlie and Tammy read it also.
Okay.
And I thought just to maybe save on the dollar a little bit, we might just want to bring our highlighted sections to him.
I'm good on saving $1.
Okay.
Yeah, but they've broken it all down by the chapters and some of the recommendations and stuff, and we get to check off stuff. They gave us a full print of all of our laws as they currently stand. Obviously, the water and sewer are yet to be, I mean, the old ones are in here, so it's all up to date with the stuff that's in Albany. So, we're working away at that. And on top of that, there's, if we want to go with the CRS, and I remember I told everybody to take a look at that program and everything. I would be the coordinator here at the local level, and that's the coordinator's manual right there. Now, you got to divide that in half because that's only one page, but that's still pretty thick. But if we want to save money, I get the big bucks, I guess.
I thought the biggest savings was by going with the other company in California. You know, that was the biggest savings. I didn't think the CRS was that huge of a savings.
Well, I think we can get to the 20% level. You know, for a lot of these people out there, that's 20%. It's a lot of money. And on top of that, they get the insurance company. You know, the right insurance. So.
They had to be through FEMA, though, right? That was CRS is for the FEMA.
FEMA,
the people who pay FEMA directly. But if you were through the secondary company, the other company didn't use FEMA itself. That was a cheaper rate going all the way around.
Well, that's up to the individual. So I think we just need to do what we're responsible for doing and see what we can do and get the rating down. Right now we're a 10, I think, or 9, I forgot which. We could knock it down probably a little bit farther than that. It's more paperwork than anything else. And we're already doing some work as it is to mitigate the floodplain as it is, so that should help, I would think.
Is there also the potential that if MRB sets up a meeting with FEMA, maybe it will help some people, but then it will end up hurting some other people that maybe didn't have flood insurance?
It's always a
before?
crapshoot. It's always when you're dealing with stuff like that.
So if we're trying to do everything we can to help those people that maybe, you know, they bought their house without flood insurance and then they get a surprise.
I don't know if flood insurance has to come, I think, at closing.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that they can come to you afterwards, or otherwise you can say, well, give me the rest of what I paid you, and have the house then. Because I think flood insurance goes at closing, whether it's necessary or not. So what it could hurt is down the road.
When you go to sell it.
Let's say because it's based on their numbers say the brewery, you know, was more, it could hurt somebody at closing. I don't know if it could hurt them current, is how I understand.
Yeah, it only impacts you if you, first of all, you gotta have a loan on the place.
Yes, and they can only, you sign at closing that you will carry it for the duration of that loan. Well, if you haven't signed it at closing, they can't come in after the fact and you can't make somebody do something that they haven't signed as part of their mortgage. But it could affect, let's say, you know, house 123 3rd Ave is what is not technically in it now. It adjusts that, and now when 123 3rd Ave goes to sell, oh, it's in a floodplain now. And you're right. I mean, we should be doing whatever we can do to help clear up and make the flowing aspect of Brewery Creek better as well.
The big issue is at sale time. If you pay cash for it, then you don't have any problems.
Sure. Any money to borrow? Well, I know one house was sold and the owner's holding the mortgage to stay away from flood insurance, which was a huge reason why he was having trouble selling the house. So puts people in
land contract.
Land contract.
Yeah. It's about the only way you can get around it right now. But we'll keep trying. Anyhow, I don't know. Any old or new business that needs to come before the board we haven't already discussed? Because if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Did you want to talk about the emails? The quote from Hurricane Technologies to set up.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the share folders, there's a quote from Hurricane Technologies. We have to set up new emails. We would still, for those of us who are using the Dansville domain, we would still have that the folks that are not using the Dansville domain would need to switch to that so that everyone can be in compliance with our IT policy. So I count 22 people right now that would need, that either currently use or will need a Dansville domain. There could be more to that, but this has to be resolved before we switch to our new website.
So
Because we're
the
dropping
ones that
our
we're using
current-
right now, we'd get a new one basically.
Yes.
And then we just, is that something that Hurricane Technologies, can I download that app as like a regular email, or how is that? Do I gotta?
So they're suggesting that we use Office 365. We had looked at this maybe about a year ago when we were first talking about like the tablets and converting everything to 365. It's going to be more secure than what we're running right now for our email, and there'll be less spam coming through. So that this is what Hurricane's recommending. This is what they use. Back when we looked at it before, that was the one that we all felt the most comfortable with. But they'll have to come out. You know, you'll see their labor costs in here because they'll have to actually come out and do quite a bit of work as far as switching everybody over. So if you have, you know, you set up an email address to use just for Village Business, they're still going to have to take a look at that. Okay, can we download, can we save this information, you know, because it's used for Village Business. So they're going to have to take a look at everybody's email addresses. You know, what do they need to do to back up and then get you set up using the Dansville domain. So right now, it's roughly $1,370. That could go up if we have, you know, more people that I didn't account
That's
for.
a month?
So that's the initial fee.
Okay.
And then after that, the estimated price for the 22 users would be $110
Total?
a month. Yep,
Okay.
per email.
So one time $13.70 and then...
110 per email account?
No, I'm
Oh.
sorry, it's $5
Oh.
per email account.
Does that go to Hurricane?
Yep, so we can just pay them.
So
They
what's
don't-
this IT
they don't make
policy?
anything out of it.
So how do I mean, we recently, the IT policy,
So that was approved before we did our annual training.
Yeah.
When was that? When did we do our annual training? April? Is that April? So it was approved before that, right? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly when.
must be when I was on my cruise, because I don't remember anything about an IT policy. Am I losing my mind?
Probably.
You know, and then there were some questions about it at the time just because everybody wasn't able to comply with what it was. So we do the annual workplace violence training, and then at that training, we didn't train on the policy. However, we handed out the IT policy, we handed out the sexual harassment policy.
I remember the
Remember
sexual
those
harassment
were
one.
approved together.
Oh.
So we handed those out, we made sure the employees got them, but then there were some questions because we do
Yeah.
have a lot of employees that use a Gmail or Juno or Yahoo or
Remember,
You
I think
know,
Jeff raised a question about
Frontier.
it. Yeah.
So we've since set all of our officers up with, you know, the Dansville NY. We have, except for you, except for the chief. But then we have other employees that it's more difficult for them to get onto the digital towpath on their smartphones, you know, and they use that for like Day Safely and stuff like that. And when they're on the road, so they're still on Gmail, you know, and then most of the board is still on, you know, other accounts. And so there's very few of us that are on the Dansville domain completely.
Comments? Remarks?
Make a
Question.
motion, we rescind the IT policy.
I think we probably need one just because we got to be consistent.
Motion on the floor.
Next week. we can hold that off for a vote till
So,
next week,
yeah, if
right?
you guys want to look at it and just send me any questions that you have.
Look
You
at,
know, I mean. look at
IT
the
policy
quote.
or
Do
the
you have
quote?
Yeah, the quote.
I guess the quote is the quote. I mean,
Okay. If you think of any questions I can answer before the next meeting, let me know. But like I said, we're not going to be able to take our old website offline without having this conversion done. And this could take a little bit of time.
I thought we had a motion to close.
No, we didn't have it yet. Megan jumped in. Okay, anything else, Megan? Scott, Charlie?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion from trustee Zay to adjourn at 9:04. Second from trustee Nagel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Two motions you had.
Mess around. Tell us
Thank you
that.
very much, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Two motions you got in front of you.
Highway 31st at 6 o'clock.
Pardon me?
Highway 31st at 6 o'clock, Tuesday, 31st at 6 o'clock.
When did you do it?
Oh, the parade, you mean?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock.
Next,
Yes.
next Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
And
I just,
I was going to say, any of you want one of these flyers for tomorrow's meeting, as I suspect most of you are probably working anyway.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Then we just got
give them.
This
We
is,
handed them out.
oh, I did.
Yeah.
I did. Hey,
Two?
losing my mind.
All right. See you.
Megan, do we have copies of the current ambulance contract?
Yeah.
Sure.
Will you make me a copy and I'll pick it up tomorrow, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Or I can upload it if you'd rather look at it
This
from
thing,
home or whatever.
well, this thing has been plugged in since last time I turned it on here and it's red. So if you could just, I'll print one off and I'll come in a little early and grab it so that I'll have it for the meeting.
Okay.
That's why I had it up running, also I looked down and the battery's blinking red. I'm like,
Sucking up the juice.
Oh, you know, the only other thing I should have mentioned, Mayor, is the code contract. But that's in
The who contract?
the code contract that expired with the town for Tammy.
Oh, okay.
I forgot. But next
Raise it,
week,
for pumper.
Yeah, we'll put it on there. Let me,
and I'll remind you of that next week too, because we'll have more time together. So